We are live. That is correct, Twitch chat. Okay, we're here. We're here. Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
What's up, everyone?
We have a fine cast here. We have Roca. We have Bick. We have Angeels. You know, he's a bunch of hexagons right now, but that's cool. It's good. There he is. He's up there in the top left-hand corner. But what has brought us all together to have a discussion? Yeah, that's the real question, because
that is the real question here.
we were rather hoping to have some kind of announcement, but that didn't happen. Again, yeah, we were hoping for some kind of update, but that didn't happen. Another Tuesday goes by with not so much as a Blackline key update, unfortunately, which is I would take that. I would take that honestly. Yeah, let's open some keys, right? But oh no, we have been brought here together for a very important discussion. Very important topic, right? And that topic is, of course, the new player experience. We have a lot of new players moving into the game right now, and we all have to, we all have to wander from our ivory towers of elitism and veteranship. Like, how do these players feel as they play the game, as they join into the game? And that's why I've got a panel of experts here. Bick feels very strongly about this topic, and Angeels and Roca have both very recently done extensive new player guides for their respective game modes, guys. Okay? Yeah, and Angel smashed his webcam. He just punched it. Smashed it in half. He just,
smash.
Yeah.
Just
ripped it in half. Exactly. So, I think the obvious thing to do here is to say, Bick, I know you've got a lot of thoughts on this. Why don't you just kind of lay it down with regards to how you feel about the new player experience in Guild Wars 2.
Hi guys, my name is Vic. YOLO 360, no scope swag, easy, can't see me. One. I just have to say that I've had a lot of friends come into this game. A lot of friends leave this game. And they never invest any of the time into PvE. I just recently did a new player walkthrough with Twitch, and we started a new character at level 1. As we went through the cutscene, we defeated a boss in the first 5 seconds of the fucking game with one ability. We attacked his hand. Other hand fell. Bam! Got to level 2. At level 2, the game dropped us off there and said, fucking figure it out yourself. See, to me, that's a big problem, because not only is it boring, but at the same time, there's no development to the game whatsoever. And when people say, should I buy the expansion? It's like, yeah, buy Path of Fire, get the mount, and it's like, for what? Hey, what just happened?
What?
Never mind. Sorry about that. And it's like, for what? It's for what to get the mount? To travel the world of Tyria, and to do what? And the people that I do recruit, the people that do come into the game, it's like, well, I want to do what you do, Big. And the actual progression through the PvE content, this is an MMO after all, like, skipping all the PvE content, it's cool and all, like a second character, but the actual progression to experience the game the first time is in my opinion, is horrible for in my opinion, for new players. It's this is a short-term version, and I'm sure you guys are going to kick into this and we'll break it down step by step, but what do you guys think?
No, I think you've got a point there, to be honest. Like, when you just start the game, there really isn't much. It's a very complicated game, actually, if you look into it. Seeing as how much explanation I had to do lately on like very core things, right? There isn't a lot of tutorial stuff. They did the dodge thing, but it's not really very much.
I think the dodge thing is a very legitimate issue, because as I understand it, this is going to sound very odd, I imagine, to some of us, but some people actually go through the entire game without realizing that you can actually dodge. And I suppose it doesn't really. Does it say at any point? I honestly can't remember. I can't remember if it actually tells you to dodge or not. Aside from that dodge tutorial.
I had one guy come in to my stream and ask about why sometimes when he spammed his W key, it sent him hurtling forward. Like, I mean, the game doesn't explain it at all, right? Like, it doesn't tell you, oh, by the way, dodge exists. Oh, by the way, we've set double tap to dodge as your default setting. No, it doesn't tell you that at all. It just kind of throws you in there and says, "Oh, off you go."
Does anybody here? I love to compare MMOs between MMOs, and I always say that if I can get a burger at a place, I should be able to get the same burger, if not better, down the street. Because that's what business is like. So, if you take MMOs into a business perspective, if one MMO has something, the other one should try to replicate something it has and add on to it. I mean, you guys don't disagree with me?
No, I don't think I would actually. I think you can get different kinds of burgers. I think that I don't think that burgers all necessarily have to be the same, and I don't think imitating and replicating the same thing is a good. Well, it's particularly good for the industry. I don't think that's going to encourage innovation. I think that MMOs being different is really good, and I think Guild Wars 2 is an example of that. I would say.
I mean, you can get inspiration for stuff, right? Like, didn't World of Warcraft implement like kind of the fractal system into the dungeons and stuff? And I mean, that's not bad.
I think you misunderstood what I'm saying. It's like, if one game does something, the other game, if it does try to copy it, it should do it better. And obviously innovating that idea and making it better and better. I don't mean like every game should be the same. I mean, like if a game had something and you tried to replicate it, it should be the same or if not better.
I mean, every game is kind of different, right? So what I'd say is like they should implement it into their game and like make it unique in that way, right? Make it fit their own game, but even if the core idea is the same.
So I'm going to say something, and as soon as I say this, we're going to have, oh my God, LUL BDO. But I have to say this about BDO because BDO has ran one of the biggest schemes of all time of never letting you log off, and it has been. One of the biggest successes of BDO is that they grabbed you by the neck and they said, this is the path you're going to take, and they let you go freely at 55. Before, when I played, it was 50, and then it moved up to 55, and then moved up to 60. They grabbed you by the neck and they made sure that you understood how the game works. And that's one of the biggest successes of BDO. After you got to those max levels, you still had a lot of questions, but you knew the core game and what the game was about. It wasn't like, what am I supposed to do? In Guild Wars 2, at level 2, you're like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? At level 2, 3, what the fuck am I supposed to do? At level 50, what the fuck am I supposed? Level 60 comes around. I'm still scratching my goddamn head. Why am I doing this? I mean, I bought the game 4 times before I started playing the game. And the only reason I bought the game 4 times is because all the other MMOs failed. And then I put my head down and I said, I'm going to learn this shit. But if you look at the industry of MMOs, they've been going down, and MOBAs have been going up. And MOBAs, in my opinion, have made gamers lazy because all you have to do is PvE in a jungle for 5 seconds and you're done PvE, and then you go PvP. And it's made the PvE the players that want to PvP lazy, because you don't have to farm for gear, you have to do none of that stuff. So mobile players come into Guild Wars 2 and they're like, okay, I'm scared for the PvP, but they don't understand anything, and the game allows them to do that. I think that if the game took the first sequence of where you slay that first dragon, if they took that first sequence, they gave you all your abilities and they give you a trial of being able to go through an actual zone, do some actual fights through an actual storyline in the beginning, through all your abilities, give you an enhanced tutorial. By the time you leave that place, you should be like anywhere between level 10 to level 15, even 20, of actually understanding your core basic class. And what I just said is going to fundamentally break down Guild Wars 2 and then ask it, is this game free to play or is it free to try? And that's where this next conversation would take you if you were to go down that route. A lot of the problems that we faced in Heart of Thorns is power creeps. The game went from free to play, from buy to play, which was very balanced, to free to play, and free to play model had to have Heart of Thorns stacked onto it. Heart of Thorns brought power creeps that we've never seen before. Everything else underneath Heart of Thorns was completely useless. And the game, at some points was being called pay to win because you had to buy Heart of Thorns to be able to compete. And then Path of Fire came out, it happened again. So are we and now we're in a sense where the game is pretty much free to play, but you can't really play Guild Wars 2 freely without buying the expansions, because you without gliding, without the mounts. I mean, you're a peasant. You're a complete pleb.
I don't see that as a problem though. Like, I could just consider it like a free trial. I mean, it's kind of like a free trial, but kind of not. I don't think it's a problem to have stuff like masteries get unlocked by purchasing the expansions. Really,
But hear me out though.
Yeah.
On what I was going to finish. The thing is though, going down that route and having getting free 80 levels in a game, getting free 80 levels in the game, but absolutely getting nothing for doing those free 80 levels is kind of pointless. Like here we go. We have a character that's level 1, right? He decides to buy the expansion from 1 to 80. He'll never tap into Spellbreaker. He'll never tap into Berserker. He's always going to be playing Warrior. Now, good thing about Warrior is pretty easy to learn. So therefore, going to Berserker and Spellbreaker is pretty simple. But not when it comes to Weaver, and it's not when it comes to the Elementalist class. Not when it comes to Necro. When it comes to other classes become a little bit more complex. So here you have a player that buys the expansion, and the only way to tap into those other classes in PvE is to basically boost, and then he skips all the content. And that, to me, that's a problem. Like, there's no reason to skip all the level 50 core levels when you can limit like 20 levels and then force the player to buy the game or not buy the game, and then from there allow that player to play all those specs and play within those specs through the core game, and be able to help that player through extensive tutorials of being able to play that.
I think I know what you're saying, and I think that's there is definitely an argument to that. So I think kind of what you're saying is that the free to play like base game is a little generous. You'd prefer to have it limited, like to. So
it's too generous for no reason. Like the first 80 levels, it's like it's almost pointless. It's completely almost pointless because you get to play a spec that later on you're not going to main. Most likely. I mean, yeah, you can play Cold Guardian all the way, but like, why not tap into Firebrand and play a little Firebrand as you level? Why not tap into Dragon Hunter as you level? Why not tap into those so you're familiar with them through 1 to 50 or 1 to 60 or 1 to 80? The storyline is gonna progress, and eventually you'll have to get all the traps for Dragon Hunter and AoEs. It'll be fun, and fun and also learning.
I actually think that like the elite specs are a kind of progression after level 80. That's like the content you're playing towards, right? I would say what you're saying is pretty much that like you're playing this free game, right? And you don't really know what you're working towards, or like you're thinking that's locked behind expansions anyway, right? But I would say that's like actually a point why they should be gated behind level 80 or behind the elite specs, because then you have something after level 80. Like you have something extra that you can unlock for your class after level 80. I actually think that's a good point for that.
That's of course, and I think you're being really, 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 really genuine about that, because I feel like if one of my friends were to come into the game and they needed to unlock their level 80 cores, I'd be like, yo, follow me for 3 or 4 hours, bam. You got it unlocked.
No, I mean, I totally agree with you on the point that, like, if I was to just play the core game, I'd get bored really quickly. I'd probably, I think if I started it today, I'd probably quit the game before level 50. But at the same time, if I was to just unlock everything before, and if I could just play the elite specs there, then I would get bored after level 80, right? That's the thing that I'm looking forward to. That's why I'm leveling up to level 80 in the first place. And during that time, I basically decide whether I think the core game is good enough for me to even look further into it, right? In like a trial kind of way.
I think this comes from a lack of direction, right? The game doesn't tell you that the elite specs it doesn't tell you work towards the elite specs. It doesn't tell you work towards getting gear for raids, or work towards getting gear for World v World, or any of that shit. It just kind of throws you out there. It doesn't give you. It gives you so many options that it doesn't. It can appear overwhelming, and like for us, it's like whatever. You just log in. We just log in and we do whatever the hell we want. But the game has kind of evolved around us playing, and these options have kind of appeared whilst we've played. But to a new player, it can be. I can imagine it's very overwhelming.
I think it also really circles about like the hard quests. Those were originally like the biggest innovation Guild Wars 2 had, but they actually like you don't really have that chain of quests that you're following, right? You don't really have those NPCs you're always walking towards. You're like going into open world and you're like, where am I supposed to go? There's a hard quest, but I'm not really sure what that does and what am I supposed to do. Half the players don't even realize that the hard quest tells you what to do, and they're like in an area and they're just ending up killing mobs randomly.
I mean, aren't those people beyond help though? I mean, it literally says in like black and white. It says what the heart to do in the heart quest in the top right hand corner of the screen.
I think that's exactly one of those things where we as veterans, I'm sorry, if we as veterans think so, but like when you're coming into the game, you're like figuring out what my inventory key is.
I think that the issue doesn't come from the direction that hearts, like the actual heart itself, but like the wider reaching thing. Like Roca mentioned before, quest chains are a thing in other MMOs, and they give you, like in ESO, for instance, you follow the main story, you level up whilst you're doing it, and at the end, it kind of tells you, now you can do this stuff, okay? In Guild Wars 2, though, like, there's not really a lot. Like, some of the streams that people have done where they've logged into the game for the first time, they're like, well, do I just complete the map or what? Like, a lot of these players that are coming in need that direction. And I'm not saying, that we're some enlightened group of people, but for the most part, players who are playing this game are expecting a direction when they're playing an MMO.
I jump on something. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
And if the game wants to reach a wider audience, then it's going to have to do that. Because the last 2 weeks have shown that there is a very big audience who are looking for an MMO that is good and that has good combat and a lot of end game. Okay, and people are searching for one. Yeah.
I'm sorry, bro. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think if they came through revamped and made it, then you would see a lot more. I guess the term I'd use would be stickiness of players who are willing to stay after trying out the first couple of hours. Because I'm sure that's when a lot of, the whole ArenaNet business model is getting people to come back to the game. And if people are dissuaded in the first couple of hours, then yeah. It kind of sucks.
I'm sorry, buddy.
No, go, dude.
I have to say that, like, you have to compare apples to apples when it comes to these MMOs. I understand innovation and creating the new car that drives itself is awesome and stuff like that. But like, we have to have the basics. People that come into the MMOs, they want, like, what's Guild Wars 2 known about? Combat. Let's all say it together. Combat. Okay, so Guild Wars 2 is known for what? Combat. Okay. So now here we are. We spawn as a brand new player. We go down to we go down as a brand new player, and guess what? We kill the first egg, we kill the second egg, and then we start collecting goddamn apples. Now we're collecting apples and bringing apples. Now that's, of course, if you even got that far, because if you even know how to collect the damn apples. I'm talking through experience. As a brand new player, when I first got the game, I was so goddamn lost. I was running around looking for fucking apples. The goddamn spiders jumping on me. I'm killing every spider. The heart isn't being completed. What the hell am I doing? What the hell am I doing here? I played all these MMOs. All the MMOs were simple. You grab the quest, you kill. It made you fall in love with the combat, or you hated the combat. But if you had either the storyline or the combat that intrigued you, you would play it. Guild Wars 2 has combat. Guild Wars 2 is the best MMO for combat. But yet in the first 20 levels, you're like,
I absolutely agree. Actually, I absolutely agree.
It's trash.
Like the storyline, I would say just that the core game has done a lot of things not that well, right? The storyline in the core game is probably the worst part of the story in the game, so that's not really appealing to me so much. And I think, somebody said in chat earlier, right, that hearts are meant to keep you in places where events spawn, but you don't really know that when you come into the game. Like I don't know, like you probably don't even really know the concept of events, right? Or like you don't even know whether they're worth going for, etc. So it's.
Well, the thing is, as a player, when I first spawn into the world, I want to be able to slay, use my sword, right? You don't get to do that. You don't get to fall in love with a game like that. You have to alt tab out and ask somebody a question. And like, I don't know how many questions I've asked in the last 2 weeks. How many questions I've been asked of the same thing, And I tell the players the same thing, bro. Get the hell in the game. Play the game. If you got any questions while you're playing the game, I'm here for the next 7 hours. Just play the game. I even went to the hallway yesterday and I screamed, "Play the fucking game!" That's how I'm getting the players to play the game now. I'm just screaming at them, saying, "Play the fucking game," because there's no other way to do it. They have so many questions that I will literally be in front of the camera answering the most simple fundamental questions on how to play this game. And I'm glad you guys made a guide. But the thing is, like, if you made it just a very simple tutorial, like the hearts aren't a bad problem. The hearts are actually fun. I like the hearts. I would actually like to go back. Yeah, I actually do like the hearts. I think the hearts are pretty fun. Now, I would like to see more killing of the hearts. I would like to see a lot more mobs stacked together to be able to use all my abilities and feel powerful with my extended with my gear. You know what I'm saying? Like, just, you know, like I do in other MMOs. In Guild Wars 2, it's like you see a mob every 15 minutes. You know, it's like, and then you sit in line for those mobs sometimes. You know, it's like it needs to focus on getting these players into combat. The second quest, you're pulling wheats out. You're pulling the goddamn wheats out.
Well, I mean, yeah, but not necessarily though. Most hearts, you can kind of kill something to progress. So it might not be the most efficient way of doing the heart, but usually there's a lot of killing. It might not be difficult. I think that's certainly a problem in the core game, that the combat isn't particularly engaging, I guess, through at least most of the early levels, because you just kind of one-shot most things. But I'm not sure if that's the case, unless, I mean, if you go back in your Berserker gear and go back to this stuff, then yeah, you're going to one-shot everything. But if you're just leveling up and you're in blues and greens, like, are you going to one-shot everything? No, probably not. I think so.
TeaPot, I was actually talking about this a couple days ago, because I was leveling a Weaver, and I stopped leveling my Weaver, and I said, how do I learn my Weaver if I'm going through the world of Tyria and everything is dying so fucking fast? Now, people obviously say, well, it's because you know the game, you know the abilities that kill, you know how to do that rotation, so therefore you're killing things fast regardless of gear or not. But the thing is, like, you can't just go from 1 to 80, bam, fractals raids. Like, come on, there's got to be a progression system there, man. There's got to be something in between for these players to do. They have to reawaken the lobby levels for these players to learn. Like, there has to be something just a little harder in that progression system.
No, I wanna say one thing. I think, yeah, the combat system is like probably like to me the selling point of the game, right? But I think a lot of players who start the game are actually also looking for like environment. They're looking for maps. They're looking for the general style of the game, and a lot of new players actually enjoy running around and just picking up a bucket of water and putting it on like fire or something. Think a bunch of players like that if you're new to the game. What I would say would be a good improvement is to actually make events a little bit more engaging, because I find events in Heart of Thorns, for example, when they tie into big metas, right? Verdant Brink event chains, for example, I actually find these to be quite engaging. And when I started playing Heart of Thorns, I really enjoyed these events, right? And I did them a lot, and they ended in these huge epic boss fights, etc. But when you're coming into the game, your first event is probably like escort this Dolyak to the next city, and like the escort just arbitrary stops every 5 minutes, and you get attacked by 5 centaurs that you have to fight off. So they're kind of boring. They're not giving you that feeling of I'm actually in a storyline. I'm actually engaging in this. They're more kind of just random and, I don't know, not that fun to do, I guess. So I would like them to see. I would like to see them basically make cooler event chains. You know, like the kind of event chains that actually get you to play them and be like, oh, this story is actually kind of interesting. You know, I'm not just escorting a cow and milking it at the end or something.
Do you think there needs to be more fail states? Because I think Guild Wars 2 is a game where it's very difficult to actually fail. Guild Wars 2 is a game that is nice to you. Does the game need to be a bit more mean to you, is what I'm trying to get at here, right?
They need to add pocket raptors to the core game. I think that's what they need to do. Yeah, the new player has to make that experience right away.
Even stuff like Tequatl, right, which is an open world, tricky boss. It just doesn't fail, right? It just doesn't fail.
Yo,
you go ahead, Vic. You go ahead, Vic.
I can't. God help me for thinking this out loud, but I can never learn a rotation or ever get good by painting fingernails of a fucking boss. You're just in there painting his fingernails the entire duration. Like, you're just painting his fingernails. And then you're like resin the guy that died, and then you're just fucking painting his fingernails. And then he fucking jumps, and then you go paint his fingernails after the next phase. And then you paint some more fingernails, and it's like, And the next, you go to the next boss in the fucking, you know, the ice place, and then he flies up. You get fucking destroyed by that ice thing. The ice gear barrier goes down. You all rush, and then you all paint the fingernails there. Then he flies across the board, and paint the fingernails in the other section, and don't walk in that fucking blue stuff, because you know the blue stuff's gonna kill you. You can't learn from that shit, man.
Yeah, but it's still impressive the first thing you do. The first player is going there and she's like, holy shit, it's a huge fucking event, what a cool game. And then like after the fifth time they're gonna be like, oh, it doesn't really change, and it's actually kind of boring if you do it repetitively. But at that point you're hopefully level 80 and you bought the expansion then, right? That's
the whole thing though, bro. Like because it's old content doesn't mean like it does, because it's old content doesn't mean like it's supposed to be like, oh well, it's old, you know. It doesn't mean like, okay, so what is that content there? Why is it there? Like, what's its purpose? Let's just break that down.
The purpose of Tequatl?
Of Tequatl, of all the world bosses, of the world bosses in vanilla.
To be honest, the purpose of the world bosses in vanilla are to be fun. I think we're coming at this from a slightly bad angle. I mean, I don't think that the goal of ArenaNet is to have all the players knowing exactly what they're doing, to be brutally honest. Right? I think they just want the players to have fun.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just... ArenaNet doesn't really... I mean, they don't want everyone to be, like, elite, speed, hardcore dungeon runners, right? Or top-level PvPers.
Not everybody
They
wants
just want to
that,
have fun. And to be quite honest with you, okay? Like, the average player who's just chilling out, playing some PvP, doing a fractal, doing some open world bosses, they're having fun. They're having fun, man.
A lot of players just play it for the guilds they're in, and they just meet up in Lion's Arch and talk.
Yeah, and hang out, right? And just play with friends. That they just want to just chill, right?
And that's fine. There's nothing saying there's anything wrong with that. I think though that, you know, from a business perspective, ArenaNet is losing potential customers though.
I know that is. I would actually. This is where I would certainly come over to Bic's side of this argument, right? They are screwing themselves because a lot of players will come into the game and kind of go like, hang on, what are you supposed to do in this game again? Like, what's going on, right? What's the goal, right? Because that's what a lot of MMO players are into. They want a long-term goal where you this is like, aha, I'm gonna have to grind a little bit to get this, right? Or, you know, aha, I'd better get good so I can do this. Or, you know, or any kind of goal, not necessarily getting good. Actually, like in Guild Wars 2. I don't know about that
exactly.
one, but
as I said earlier, the past 2 weeks have shown that there's a large population of MMO players who want something new and exciting, and Guild Wars 2 can kind of offer that in a way. The combat is very exciting, but you know, there's nothing really saying, hey, you know what, actually, check this out. Like, you know, you wanna play this beyond level 20 or beyond level 4 when you realize that actually the beginner experience is absolute trash.
Go ahead.
You know, it kind of ties in with the marketing, right, which we've constantly flamed for good reason. And I think it's, you know, the death of an MMO in its first couple of weeks of existence has brought in more players than anything else they've done in the past. And why aren't they focusing some of their resources on trying to get these players? That's what I want to know.
Can I say something, bro?
Yeah, go.
I don't know, dude. I'm gonna say it. I know my homies are thinking it. I'm just gonna say it, bro. This community is filled with plebs, bro. Like I am so mad even fucking like being a streamer for this community, bro. Because like this shit is a Twilight Zone, bro. We lose so many fucking people, bro. Because the plebs, bro, they ruined the game. They ruined the fucking game, bro. Like, the world bosses are fun? How many fucking times? 6 years? It killed. Like, how many fucking times you gonna do world bosses before you're like, yo, I want something out of this event, bro?
That's very true. That's why so many people quit the game.
Let the moms and dads have the world bosses. Give us something in between to become fucking good at this game, bro. The plebs are ruining the game. Like, I feel like I'm in the fucking Twilight Zone, bro. Like, I feel like I'm filled with, like, special education people, bro. I can't take it anymore. Everybody's a retard around me. I'm the only smart person.
Whoa, buddy.
It's crazy, bro.
Whoa.
I can't take this anymore.
No, I think the current population that's coming into the game is a population of experienced MMO players. I think a lot of players come because of like review videos and because they're looking for a new MMO because they got bored with the old ones. I think if you came as like a completely new MMO player, just the visuals of things would kind of interest you, right? People would probably just run around and like and explore, right? But now if you're an experienced MMO player, you already know what other MMOs are like, right? You're looking forward to the end game combat, right? You're looking forward to how is PvP like, what gear am I working towards? Like they want to get right into like raids or dungeons or end game PvP, right? So
dude, I don't understand. I don't understand why is such a problem? Why is such a problem to request that there's a gradual system for players to learn the game? Like, why is it so hard for this community to accept that? Like, we go from 1 to 80 with one boost. Bam, you're right there. There's I
honestly don't think it's the community that is against this. I think it's actually just ArenaNet not implementing it, just straight up.
I know, bro, but seriously, I get flamed for this, bro. When I say things like that, I literally get flamed for this. Like, you might not flame me, Angeels. Roca might not flame me for this. MightyTeapot might not flame for this. But you know what the difference is? You guys aren't plebs. That's the difference. Like, that, you are not plebs.
Can't argue with that.
You guys actually want to log into the game and learn the game. That's the difference between you and them. Them are the people that literally log in and don't want to do anything, and they're lazy. It's like I'm logging in just to walk around with my mom. Like, go out there, walk around with your mom and shop with her. Hang out with her in real life, bro.
Zach is right there in chat right now, recording all of this for the next Elitism remix.
Yeah.
Right now.
Like the plebs, we're in the game, bro. Like, I log into the game for one thing: to achieve, to get better, to progress. And like, if those players don't want to progress, that's fine. They don't have to. They can roam around Lion's Arch, do the little jumping puzzles. But like, for the players that want to come into this game, for the players that want to get better, there has to be a system that will teach them how to be like Bick, how to be like Angeels, how to be like Roca, how to be the MightyTeapot. And that's going to first introduce the combat to them. You can't introduce the combat to them by level 2. You've already defeated the world boss. And by hanging out with his fingernails. Well, if you want to get better, you got to go in front of a training dummy and AoE. Why? Why would the player want to do that if he's not intrigued in the first game in the first place?
There was something in chat just now which kind of relates to this. That ArenaNet has frequently said that the game is based towards casuals. I think we can all agree that their current like development and marketing and all that sort of stuff is. But like, I think what people in chat need to understand is that we're very much advocating that's fine, but ArenaNet needs to expand. They need to be tapping into this market of players who like aren't casual and who are looking for a game, because Guild Wars 2 kind of has a lot of what they're looking for, right? True. And it has fairly frequent releases. I think we can all sort of, we all feel a bit different about that, but like, for the most part, the game is pretty solid and the combat is very high level. But ArenaNet seems to be shoehorning themselves into this very, casual orientated market, and that's fine. But casual players don't tend to have a lot of, loyalty, I guess I'd say.
I'd say that like the core game was really focused on the casual player, right? The core game is about basically exploring the world and getting map completion, doing jumping puzzles, and then maybe dungeons at the end. But I mean, the community of people of hardcore dungeon runners like wasn't even that huge back then, right? Even when they were still big, right? And that's when a lot of people quit the game, when the game didn't have endgame. Now we actually have the endgame, but what people first experience is still the game that is tailored towards the casual game experience, right? So if you just do that as a new player, eventually you're going to get bored, right? That's actually why I'm telling people, like, if you like explore the world and level up your first swing like this, right? But if you notice that after level 20 you get bored with the game and that hearts aren't interesting, like boost that shit up and unlock your elite spec and then go into PvP, go into whatever, right? Just before you quit the game, when you're like at the very early stages that don't represent the game at all anymore, then I mean, just go and boost it, right?
I'm a streamer just like you guys are, and I have a bunch of friends in other games, and it's almost funny because people are like, "Yo, that's big. He's a big Guild Wars 2 streamer." It's the biggest meme when you say that. He's the biggest Guild Wars 2 streamer because the outside world looks in and says, "Is that game still alive? Is that game still kicking?"
It's crazy whenever I look up other streamers from other games, I realize how tiny we actually are.
And they're like, and then we have like these white knights, like, we have such a good game. Oh, and the thing is, we haven't even tapped into the potential of this game from our engine. We haven't even tapped to the potential of this game. This game hasn't even been tapped into it. Like, we have the combat. That's it, bro. Like, we still playing Guild Wars 2 beta, bro. This is still beta. You want to tap into Guild Wars 2's potential? You take the implementation of Guild Wars 1 and let's put some Guild Wars 1 into the Guild vs Guild battles. We don't have build templates, bro. Like, we can go for days, bro. Like we have, this is beta of Guild Wars 2, bro.
Well, I think I don't think Guild Wars 1 is a good example, dude. Like, I think it's very Guild Wars 1. I don't know, dude. Like, the level of explanation and like new player experience in Guild Wars 1. I don't know. Like, transitioning from like casually doing the story to like doing the end game in Guild Wars 1. I mean,
yo, I disagree with you, bro. I disagree with you 100%, bro. I disagree with you 100% because in Guild Wars 1, you weren't lost. As a new player, you knew your path.
That's because everything was super instanced, right?
Well,
you didn't even have an open world, did you?
Well, I mean, we're talking about like 2005, 2004, 2000. I mean, like, people still had 56K dial-up, so like the game could only go so far. You know what I'm saying? And now everybody's like almost a gigabyte connection, 150 megabyte connection. So therefore, things are gonna move a little bit faster. You know, things are gonna be bigger. So like back for in the day, people had a structure, go forward, and they knew where to go. Like you couldn't talk to a player that had no idea what to do. Like, in Guild Wars 2, you'll talk to somebody and they're fucking, like, they don't even know how to dodge wall. Like, that wasn't happening in Guild Wars 1 because there was structure. Do you guys disagree with that?
I never played Guild Wars 1, unfortunately. I can't really tell.
I mean, Guild Wars 1 was definitely certainly more linear. It had a very linear story to it, but I wouldn't really say that it went out of its way to teach you how to actually understand the game correctly. I think it was very much on the players to learn how to actually play Guild Wars 1 correctly.
So let's break that down, Teapot. Let's break that down, okay? Is it not the game's job to give you an environment to learn? Isn't that what Guild Wars 1 did? They gave you the environment to learn?
I mean, I think you could argue that Guild Wars 2 does it just as much, really.
I disagree with that.
And
how many times did I go in Guild Wars 1 and I failed my first time run through of every mission at least one time? How many times did I do that? I failed many times in Guild Wars 1 mission. The repercussions of failing was go right back to the start and do it again until you got it down, not only through your build and combat, but also through the actual mechanics of the storyline. How many times have you failed in Guild Wars 2 and still progressed this stuff?
Well, I mean, that's the point. I mean, honestly, try dungeons at level 35, dude. Like, dude, okay, right? No, seriously, man. Like,
the first time I did a dungeon, it took me 5 hours to quit the dungeon after 5 hours of cola and icing.
It took you 5 hours to quit the dungeon?
Yeah, I didn't kill the dungeon. We wiped.
You couldn't find the button?
No, I do. I'm completely with you there, Vic. I mean, a big problem of why the game people don't learn Guild Wars 2 is because of how punishing it isn't. Right? There's nothing in this game that's going to screw you. Except, honestly, and that's why Heart of Thorns was a massive shock. Heart of Thorns came along, right? And suddenly open world was like, hang on a minute, these mobs are kicking my ass, right? It's that just not in the core game. You just roll everything, right? You pretty much roll everything in the core game. You always have, especially with elite specializations, right? But there's definitely a really good argument to the fact that the core game is very easy and very face rolly, so there's no reason to learn. And this is where it gets a bit tricky. Right? I think a lot of players don't want to have to learn. It's what Inks is saying here. A lot of players don't want to have to learn. They just want to have some. They just want to enjoy explore the world. They're there for the world. And again, this is where it's very confusing, right? Because why do we have this amazing combat system if they're not marketing it to the kind of player who wants to enjoy that combat system, right? And it's just, I don't know. It's
that's the real question. None of this shit about like getting players to improve. Like the players that don't want to improve won't improve, and that's fine. Okay, they do their own thing. But why is ArenaNet not marketing? Why is it not setting the game up to allow players who, who will stick with the game if it's good? Okay, and it is good, but they just need to get into the good part. There's nothing to help them get there.
Isn't ArenaNet kind of marketing on content creators for that in a way? Like I feel like that. I know this is another point of criticism, right? But I think ArenaNet is legit like focusing on content creators to show off the late game, right? Because I mean, you can't very well take a new player and like go like, hey, here's a raid, let's go in and get your ass kicked for a minute so you see what's happening, right? I think they're actually like they want you to look up a YouTube guide or something, or like somebody to show you the specs in the late game, right? Like introduction videos to elite specs, etc.
But content creators are just one side of things. If people externally or who have tried the game and getting people to come back is fairly, they just need to sell something. They need to answer the complaints that people had previously. Now, a lot of the complaints that people have had previously, like the lack of a trinity or whatever, have for the most part changed. Okay, but people don't know this. Okay, they don't know that there's now healers in game or tanks or whatever you want to call it. They don't know that there's raids. They don't know that there's proper PvP progression. That like if people don't know this, they're not going to try out the game. Okay, and ArenaNet fundamentally fails to answer any of those questions, and so therefore these players won't be interested. The players that actually we want to play the game. Okay, not saying we don't want casuals to play the game. The players we want to play with, who will improve, who will try out stuff, who are willing to improve. Like none of that's going to happen because ArenaNet fundamentally fails.
Is this on like a marketing base or within the game itself?
Marketing within the game. It's
how would you implement a system in the game that shows you what you're like what you're criticizing? Like I'm totally with you, but I'm actually wondering how could you implement it in a game that you'd actually like see the end game progression, see that there's like a healer druid spec that I don't know for fractals is relevant or something.
Well, I can answer that question.
Okay.
So this is what I was talking about earlier. Is Guild Wars 2 free to play or free to try? Because again, here we are. We go right to that same road, and you ask yourself, what is the point of having 80 levels for free when you don't actually see what's the end game? You get 80 levels for free, but you don't understand why you're getting it. Like, what's the point? Why not limit that shit to like level 20? But those 20 levels, the game itself has put in some sort of instance-based storyline, or 30 levels, or 5 levels, or 6 levels. It could be fucking 8 levels. Something short and sweet within the beginning storyline that will allow a player to tap into those skills and to tap into an actual progression storyline that's going to show them this is what's waiting for you. And then obviously skim through all that content through three professions.
I don't see how that fixes it. Like.
Well, I can say this. This is the alternative. The alternative is give him a fucking level one stick, let him kill all the chickens until he gets to level 20, and then realizes that this is really slow. He'll buy the expansion, and hopefully by then he'll stay.
Yeah,
I see where Vic is coming from here. To fix that though, there's going to be such a massive rework of the entire game needed though. So I'm not sure if it's particularly feasible. Well, and you know what? I'll tell you what, Vic. I think I actually agree with you on this. They probably should introduce this stuff earlier, because otherwise I can kind of see someone playing through the game and not realizing how the end game actually is, right? Because this is where the guys, right, chat. Oh, you guys like fucking flaming, going crazy, right? But Bick is so right on this, man. Like core game Guild Wars 2, or in general, like in my opinion, like open world Guild Wars 2 is nothing like end game Guild Wars 2. And by end game, I'm not just talking about raids, right? I'm not just talking about fractals. I mean, core Guild Wars 2 is nothing like Heart of Thorns, right? Core game Guild Wars 2 is nothing like Path of Fire. And you could argue that's a good thing, right? But this is what new players all experience, is the core game, right? It's the core game. And they aren't getting a good an accurate impression of what is actually awaiting for them at level 80. And what ArenaNet would probably say is, and what I would kind of say as well, is that the game starts at 80, right? The game kind of starts at 80. And I think we could all probably agree on that, right?
I totally agree with everything Big says. I just don't think that like putting the level cap to 20 would fix it.
In the
basically,
trial,
what I say, like if you did that, then wouldn't that just be the complete opposite? Wouldn't that just be the other side of the coin? Wouldn't you then just lose all the players who play for the exploration because you're putting them in instance content that they're done with after level 20 and they're like forced to go into high-end combat? Wouldn't you just like do the exact opposite and lose everybody else? I actually think it's not that terrible to give them a level 80 boost and tell them, well, if you hate this stuff, boost yourself up and you're going to be in the high level zones right away.
The problem is that even if you give them the freedom you have freedom comes with responsibility of knowledge, because you're 18 years old doesn't mean you can go out there and run butt naked. You're going to go to prison. Okay, you have to have responsibility because now you're an adult, and that's the same exact thing with Guild Wars 2. The freedom of open world comes with responsibility of knowing where to go, knowing how to do it. Because if you don't have the responsibility of knowledge, you ain't gonna do it. You're just gonna leave.
Somebody in chat just said something really good. Sorry, like what about like trials to the expansions? What about you get to play POF for like until you get your, I don't know, just the first map or something? So you actually get an experience of what the end game is like.
That's an amazing feature. You get to do vanilla, you get to do Path of Fire, you get to do Heart of Thorns. I mean, that's honestly that's better than what we have now. And then you get to get all those abilities and try all those abilities, just like you would with a level cap booster.
I think that was a really great idea from chat there. I didn't even think about that you could just trial the expansions.
Just something that's going to it's like for me, like I want to play Guild Wars 2, right? I want to experience the game as a brand new player with my friends. The ability to have to wait 80 levels to tap into those other specs really sucks, because like, okay, I want to learn Weaver, okay?
But for the most part, that's what the level 80 booster is for, right? Like, if they want to skip the leveling process, they can do that. And I know a lot of people will go, don't use the level 80 booster if you've not tried the game. But legit, if you don't enjoy the leveling experience, you should use the level 80 booster, because that's where the game gets good. Just straight up.
But I'd still agree with Vic in that way. Like, it's still different if you like start on a different zone, right? Like, you get to like Silver Oasis, you don't get to try gliding, you don't get to try Raptors. If you're, for example, I'm an example, right? I don't like Core Engineer. Okay, a lot of people love it, but I never really got like too great with it. But I really enjoy Holosmith. So like if you had a new player and gave him the experience to like play Holosmith for like a day or something, just so he sees like this class fundamentally changes in like a very flashy and cool way, then that might convince somebody to buy the game.
Having the progression system for the elite specs is kind of important as well, because otherwise people will just have nothing to do. I think a big problem I felt with POF was that because I could instantly unlock Holosmith, half the progression that we had with Heart of Thorns was gone.
Easy, gone.
Like, that was
not for most players though. Not for most players. In fairness,
I mean, Teapot, where are you taking your perspective from though? Right? Like, is it from when you say most players? Is it like
I would say most players weren't able to insta unlock. Unless they played World versus World, PvP. I think it's correct that you instantly unlock everything.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm talking about PvE and what.
Yeah, with regards to PvE, I don't think most players were able to instantly unlock it. Honestly, no. I don't think they had a lot of the what are they?
No, that's what I'm saying though. Is that like having that progression system is important? Okay, because I personally felt it was bad that I could instantly unlock it. Not saying everyone was able to.
See, the thing is, what Angeels is saying is like, okay, so if Angel unlocks it, Angel skips all that content, Angel gets to all the end game quickly, Angel's bored, Angel quits. Okay, so you guys might say, well, the plebs haven't done it. Well, the game doesn't just revolve around plebs. It also revolves around players like Angeels that fucking want end game content, that wants just a little bit more. So Angel skipped all of that stuff, right? So Angeels is bored and quits. Now, obviously, Angeels is in the community, but there's a tremendous amount of people in this community that want skill. Okay, so I say this every single day. Guild Wars 2 is not a casual game. Okay? I know a lot of people think Guild Wars 2 was a casual game. It's not. You have to have fingers of a master to be able to play all the classes and optimal. Like, you have to be good at this game. The game is not casual. Yeah, the game may seem casual, but how many times have you guys seen people get exposed on TeaPot stream, on my stream, for fucking sucking? Okay? If the game was so easy, then everybody would be performing. The game isn't easy. The game is hard. The game is extremely hard. Extremely hard. And the reason we're having this conversation is because we keep catering to casuals, and we're trying to help the casuals get to the level of understanding. The casuals are saying, "Oh, we don't want this. We want to do hearts."
Vic, though, it's very important that you don't the casual player base is a very large part of the game, right? And it's a big part of ArenaNet's income. And it's very important that you remember that we can't, all solutions that come, trying to expand the player base or trying to get players better, need to come from the fact that you can maintain the casual player base. They do their own thing, and players who want to play more hardcore have the option and the ability to expand into doing so. You have to be realistic about it, okay? Because ArenaNet's not going to revamp the whole fucking game.
Well, also, but I am though being realistic, because every single time I talk to people, it's always like who is the casual that is there a special Pokemon we can touch that we can ask these questions that it gets offended by asking them to try and actually progress their content? Like, who is the special Pokemon that doesn't want this? Because through my understanding, through the last 5 years, 3 years I was playing this, I only touch people that want progression.
And I can answer. Yeah, of course, because dude, you exist in this community. Dude, go to the forums, go to Reddit. Raids need easy mode. There's some guy saying the personal story is too difficult, dude. No, this is real, okay? People complained so much about the fucking Minister Cordicus fight, which spawned 2 ads or something, okay? That people, they actually got it changed, right? They get it changed. They get living story. They get fucking story nerfed, right? Because it's too hard, right? No, these people exist, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's not a big deal. If anything, yeah, I kind of do think that the story should be face roll easy, in my opinion. Sure, why not? I think it should be accessible to everyone. And we need to check ourselves a little bit, guys. Chat is really right here for a start. If you want to do the... Oh, God, the Eater of Souls. Fucking, let's not even go there. Okay, so, guys, right, when it comes to content, right, if you've unlocked all the hero points and you can go into Path of Fire instantly, great. Right? That you can still do that content, though. As chat was pointing out, all those hero points, all those maps, all those events, they're still there. It's not like you're like, oh, I've got Holosmith. I can't do it now. I can't go and do it. That's it. I can't do it. No, that's not the case, really, is it? There is still a lot to do. It's just that it doesn't particularly appeal, right? It's like, well, you don't want to do it. Well, you don't want to do it then, right? And it doesn't really feel that much better that you get forced to do something. And also, I really have a really interesting question. Bick, what do you know an MMO that does? What MMO does what you want Guild Wars 2 to do? Which MMO has a good? What MMO teaches you to be good at the game? Basically, which one?
So. Guys, I think you guys are misunderstanding what I mean by the word good. Okay? My concept of an MMO teaching you to be good at a game is to give you a level of progression from 1 to max level of skill utilization and understanding of your core class. Final Fantasy did that for me. As a brand new player, I had understood that. I understood my core class, my core abilities, through massive amounts of lobby dungeons, through massive amounts of story and world exploration, that I knew around not even max level what my class was fully capable of. I knew in BDO, Black Desert Online, from 1 to 55, what my class was going to be. At level 55, I awakened, and then from 55 to 60, I learned my core classes through hours and hours of grinds. In ESO, Elder Scrolls Online, the storyline kept you in the game and through not only PvE story, but at the same time, dungeons that would help you and learn the rotation through all of that. So when I when I can do the same exact thing with World of Warcraft. All these MMOs will lock you in and keep you there for at least 30 days to teach you the core game. So when you get to end game, you're not just sitting there running at a wall saying, "What the fuck do I do next?"
Well, I think there's now we're kind of treading on slightly a grey area here, because think about it though. I mean, you're gonna run into this wall in Guild Wars 2. It just so happens that the wall is there's like a very flat part, and then suddenly you have the incline, right? And if you go straight into raids as a casual player, like running in soldier's gear, yeah, you're gonna have an extremely bad time. But I don't know. But if you're soldier's gear and you go into like level 1 fractals, no, I don't think you are gonna have a bad time. Like, should the game direct you?
Way too easy.
Should the game direct you through there? 100%, right? Like, absolutely.
What'd you say, Roca? You said it was too easy?
I was saying tier 1 is already too easy. I've
so
watched new player streams go into tier 1 and being like, what is this? Like,
okay, so that's what I'm saying, bro. Like that, it's like that's Roca. You're an ET, dog. You look like an ET. You're fucking 500 IQ, bro. Thank you for fucking finally saying something. Like, I feel like, again, I'm in the Twilight Zone. Like, there's no opportunity to learn your class, bro, because it's either super easy or bam, you're done.
No, I totally agree with that. I pretty much agree with all the points that like the game doesn't do the greatest job of like teaching you like basically what you're saying, right? It's way too easy. But at the same time, I just disagree with the solutions that have been offered so far. I don't think any of that actually fixes anything.
Well, what would fix that? What would like? So like, why does it work in other MMOs and doesn't work in Guild Wars 2? Like all those progression tiers.
I think other MMOs are very fundamentally different.
In terms of community and audience, like a huge difference.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
That's where this problem comes from. Because I don't know. Like, I really haven't played. I haven't played Final Fantasy, right? And I haven't played World of Warcraft for ages, right? But when I played WoW, did the game direct me that much? I mean, in terms of questing, yeah, but not how to be good at the game. I mean, the only thing that's really different is that like you're much likely to die. You're much more likely to like fuck up and fail in WoW. But I mean, even in WoW, even in Guild Wars 2, man. Like I said, dude, when I first did dungeons in Guild Wars 2, like I never really did a lot of dungeons, but I did some of them. I even did a bunch of Mirage, dude. Okay, to get Bifrost, right? But fucking hell, boys, that was kind of difficult. If you don't know how to do it right and you don't have the good strats, like the dungeons kind of will wreck you in this game, especially if you do them at the level they're intended for. If you're a new player, I hate to bring this up again, I hate to say this again, but you know, if you're a new guy and you go into AC at level 35, like everything one-shots you. There's like the Spider Queen, dude. I mean, I don't know, I don't know. Like that's not easy if you're in blue gear, right? That's not that easy, especially if you've got like a weird ass comp and you're only in core specs. And like some of this stuff is gonna fuck you up still. I think it's not. I think it's a little unfair the way we're kind of attacking this. I don't think it's necessarily the actual content's fault to a certain extent. I think, and Big, you talk about how like you go in Final Fantasy and you grind and you get good. I mean that's a you thing. Right, that's a you thing. If you put you in any game, like that would happen, right? You would get good at the game. You would want to improve, but that's just not necessarily the case for everyone, really.
The approach we're talking about is certainly wrong. Okay, we're looking at it from the wrong perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, just straight up, like what we should be talking about is ways of approaches of like making sure that players with that more hardcore mentality that come into the game know about to stay. Know about what's there and want to stay. Okay, because casual players will come in. Casual players will go into any game. Okay, and they'll play casually and they'll have fun, and that's completely up to them. It's just in Guild Wars 2, there's more casual content than hardcore content. Okay, ArenaNet makes their money. That's fine. Okay, but the approach of ArenaNet needs to change a little, so that then they have these options. Players are aware. Their marketing team needs to step it up, so then people are aware of new raids. Answer the big problems that people had with Guild Wars 2 at launch. I think if you asked any player that kind of quit around launch time what their biggest problems were, they wouldn't be aware that most of them had probably been fixed or changed.
True.
So that's where the approach needs to change. Because there is content to do, there is stuff you can do, especially on the PvP side. Okay, I'd say the PvP side is probably the best it's in the best place in terms of progression, but you just need to Arena needs to just say, hey, actually, we've got the stuff. We now need to let players know that this is here and get them streamlined into it. That's the real solution.
I'm actually a casual myself, and the reason I'm a casual is because I play Guild Wars 2. And there's a casual feeling in this game that allows me to do this every single day without having to grind gear for the last 5 years. So obviously there's a level of understanding that I also too am a casual because I am playing Guild Wars 2, okay? Taking away from that casual community by implementing a starting zones or starting tutorials or allowing players to tap into more traits as they progress through the game to help them understand the game better is not me attacking the casuals or me attacking players and saying, oh, look, they're just bad, they're not going to learn. It's me saying we need to help these players out because this game is hard. This game is very...
It's not about you attacking them. It's the fact that trying to get them to be better is something they don't want to do. They have no interest in it.
See, I disagree with that, bro. Because like you've got thousands of players that have left this game because they didn't like the casualness. Like I don't understand like where you get. I don't understand where you guys get these things from. Where people don't want to get better. Who says they don't want to get better?
Dude, people do not. This is such a Bick. We've even talked about this. This is the toughest pill to swallow ever. Okay, Bick. I'm really sorry, man. But the vast majority of people in this game don't care about being good at it. Okay, this is like this hurts. Okay. I've tried to bait people into being good. They just want to have fun. They just want to chill out.
They want to do what they do. They want to log in.
I disagree with that. I absolutely disagree with that. I absolutely disagree that somebody logs into the game and is willing to say, no, I'm not going to learn that. I disagree with that.
No, it's not that they're saying it's not it. Yeah, this is kind of attributing malice, right? Where it's just apathy, right? Like they just don't care. It's not that they're saying, no, I will never learn. I will never become good. I want to stay bad. It's just that I don't care.
They're just not. No, I wouldn't even say it's not even that. Care.
It's not even.
They're just not interested. They don't. They just have no interest in it. They want to log in. They want to do that thing.
Let's as ArenaNet, then let's just go cater to those players and fucking let's make a group for those players and in one little area they can just log in and just run in circles and then bam, let's cater to the rest of the community that wants to get better.
Dude, it's called Guild Wars 2, dude. That's the area for those players. And the thing is, right. Guild Wars 2 is as try hard as you want to make it, right? There's a bit of a. I think what you're saying here, Bick, is not quite right. I think the assumption that it can be only one or the other is fallacious, very much so. Guild Wars 2 is incredibly try hard. Right, if you want to look at SC, look at the old pro scene, right? Not so much anymore, of course, but that's because pro league is that's already happened, right? That's past tense, right? That's and even dungeons, fucking hell, dude, dungeons like the deadest content ever. You still have SC posting records like mega tryharding, right? It goes fractals. You can do them casually. Plenty of people do them every day. Every tier 4 challenge modes, just casually do them. And then you have SC again, grinding records. DT, writing guides, grinding records. You have raids. You can very easily casually clear raids, right? It's really not that hard. But
the game has all the content. The game has all the content we're looking for, right? We do have try-hard content in every game mode, pretty much. It's just like, the problem that we've been talking about, though, is like whether it advertises these in-game, right? It's like most people are being lost on the way to that content.
Do ArenaNet advertise them in-game and out-of-game? No. Do they need to fix it? Yes. Yeah. There we go.
Frankly, what we need to do is go back to more in the direction that Angeels was trying to push the conversation. Angeels is spot on here. The key for achieving our goals in this situation is to discuss ways in which we can make Guild Wars make players of Guild Wars 2 who are interested in this sort of thing aware of the fact that there is this potential within the game. But I think a lot of people outside of Guild Wars 2 don't know this, and a lot of players who kind of say, oh, well, I'm kind of done with WoW for a bit, I'm going to wait till the next expansion. You know what, I'm going to try Guild Wars 2 for a bit. And they play through the game, and they kind of think, well, you know what, this isn't scratching that itch, right? This is where are my raids, man? Where are my dungeons, And I think, I guess the lack of kind of understanding isn't really there. But chat kind of said this again, right? look at like the leveling experience in the other MMOs. Like it's still, you don't get to the end game. In fact, it's kind of slow to level in some of these. I mean, you have the boosts, right? But I don't know. I don't really see Guild Wars 2 as particularly worse in this regard. I mean, yeah, it's kind of a little more open. That's something I personally like. Could there be a bit more strict direction? I mean, yeah, you get notified by mail about some stuff. Like, maybe that's not the best idea. I don't know. I really think Guild Wars 2 does kind of a good job of being quite a speedy leveling experience. It doesn't take that long. If you really go at it, it doesn't take that long to actually get to the end game as such.
I think in game it's kind of limited as to what you can actually do. Like, because, you know, how do you get it so that then it shows to players and it keeps them interested without changing a lot? Because ArenaNet's not going to change a lot, realistically. Okay, they're not going to go through and change a lot. Where we need to really have a look at, in my opinion, is like external stuff. You know, how can ArenaNet say to people who outside of the game who, as I said before, these questions, like, you know, why would I want to come back and play? It doesn't have a Trinity or whatever. How do you get those players to go, hey, you know, actually, how do you get them to realize that stuff has changed? That's you know, I guess in game you can kind of, you know, you can have like the level up instances, where it says like elite specs at a certain level, you unlock them. I don't know. That's the golden question, I guess.
I feel like I'm running a retirement home for this game. Like I feel like everybody here in this community is just old, and they just you know, they need their dentures, and you know, they need to be cleaned out, and it just like I just feel like we're in a crisis where it's absolutely madness. We're like babysitting this community so hard because they don't want to get better. Like they don't want to try. Like it's almost like it's scary to actually say what you're thinking, because, you know,
I think we need to move past this though, because like legit, it's like some players just don't want to get better, and that's the reality of it. Okay, and us saying, oh, players, you know, complaining about, like, I get fed up in PvP when players don't improve. Okay, I'll fully admit to that. Okay, but deep down, I'm also aware that these people, some of them just don't care. Okay, they're not interested in getting better, and that's fine. We just need to accept that and move on, and then look at solutions to get the players who would care about getting better further into the game. Because I think, you know, we can kind of all agree that there's this point at the start of the game where people don't care, where they're like, hey, what am I supposed to do?
But Angels, that's what I'm saying though, bro. Like I've said that like many times. I've said this. It's like, if those players don't want to progress, it's fine. They don't have to progress. No one has to progress. Being able to, like you said, market, being able to get that knowledge out there through tutorials, videos, through marketing, is what this game needs. And being able to get that information out to a player that's logged in right there and there, giving that game a shot, is what this game needs. It's not about forcing the rest of the community to try. It's about allowing those new players that are jumping into the game to be able to tap into something more than one ability or two abilities for fucking 20 levels. Well, it's not 20 levels, obviously, but, you know, the core abilities for 80 levels, sorry. That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to make anybody play the game at a rate that they don't want to play. No one's going to force you to play the game. No one's going to force you to log in. But it's trying to give the other players extended tutorial what this game is really about.
Do you guys think, I just had an idea come to my head. Other games have like server wide notifications when like a feat is completed. So you know, for perhaps the first clear of a new raid wing,
that would be awesome.
Yeah, when someone wins the monthly AT, those kinds of events are a really good way of perhaps showing players that they can, you know, what something to achieve, the big stuff, right? That, I think that'd be like it's not an all-encompassing thing, but do you guys think that would be a good way of showing players something to do at the high end?
That you 100%. That sort of thing should be in the game.
How many times does that happen though?
It doesn't happen that often, yeah. Which is where I was just about to go. Right?
You get like a little pop up.
I think it needs to be even simpler than that, right? I think it needs to be even simpler than that. Players when they, I don't know. Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure about this. I was going to say something like maybe there should be something like as you kind of level up, it says like, well, like this is going to happen later on, right? But that seems like very weird. That seems very unusual.
I'm thinking. Sorry,
go. Maybe just speed the whole leveling process up, but then I kind of feel that ruins the rhythm of the game to a certain extent. Like, can we really not trust people to like stick around until level 80? I mean, I don't know. That seems a little. I feel like I don't want to spoil the gaming community too much, right? I don't know. It does say that happens at every level, yeah, but dude, like every level. Let's not be too. Listen, boys. Like it says, like, oh yeah, like next level you're gonna unlock 6 skill points, or like at level. Yes, you can go do dungeons now. Like it doesn't say anything about like what Bic's trying to get at here, and what there is a legitimate point is it doesn't say okay. For raids, you're probably going to want a healer, right? And you're going to want a tank, and you're going to want to stack 25 might and quickness and have banners and spirits, right? The game doesn't necessarily say that because
you're
like
so
all this,
smart, bro.
all this sort of thing doesn't really apply, right? And then when it comes to conquest, right? Like the game doesn't say. Well, I guess it kind of does. It's like hold the points, dude, hold them. But it doesn't say, right? Like you know what? It's not all about fighting this game mode, guys. Okay, like you got to actually do the whole rotation kind of meme, right? Does WoW tell you that? It does not necessary in WoW because WoW is nowhere near as complicated and
yeah,
as
this game
is
WoW more complex.
WoW is a very strict trinity, so all that is implied the entire time, right? It's implied the entire time through World of Warcraft that you need tank, need a healer, and need DPS, right? So you don't need to say that. And all the different combinations kind of work out right if you have those things. But in Guild Wars 2, it's kind of like, whoa, wait a minute, okay, so if we have a Chrono, but in this other group we can have a Firebrand and a Rev, it's very difficult to actually execute this, right? Like exactly what Jin's saying here. It's so, well, do you need quickness? Well, no, not really. Do you need 25 might? Well, not exactly. So it's very difficult for Arena to make these statements, right? Without kind of prescribing this, and that's people don't like it I mean, look, they posted Snowcrow's website, right? And what responses do they have on their Twitter? They said, I am so disappointed that ArenaNet would tell me how to play this game, dude. Like, how dare these people tell me how to play Guild Wars? So it's like, well, Arena don't want to go down that road, right? Like, it's kind of difficult.
I think it's actually important that we just make a quick distinction here. When we talk about casual players, we're not talking about the very toxic casual player base that isn't actually that casual since they play so much. Okay, it's actually the players who they log in a couple of hours every day or a week or whatever, they play, they have fun, they don't interact with the forums, they just do their own thing. Okay, and that's the majority of their ANET's casual player base, right? The toxic casuals, I mean, they're just stupid, like just straight up.
Whoa,
Zach, record that.
Woo!
Right, that's on the remix. Now, I think we've established a few very correct things, right? First, it's like we have a casual player base, but we also have people who want to try hard, right? We've also established that the core game experience doesn't really sell you the try hard stuff, right? It really sells you the casual stuff really well, right? The map exploration in the core game, you can get everything. Like, you'll be completely satisfied if that's your approach to the game. But you won't be if you're like going for hardcore and try hard stuff. So like the question that we need to answer really is, how do we get people to see that this stuff still exists and that there is something at the end of the tunnel, that if you're a casual player, that it's worth to boost your character, that it's worth to actually learn the weapons your class can use, right? And I think the ways ArenaNet can achieve that are very limited. I think pretty much every change that you do to the core game is detrimental in the way that you'd lose a lot of casual players over it, right? Like if you reduce the level cap, you'd lose a shit ton of casual players over this, right? If you reduce the amount of exploration you can do by forcing people into like instance, I don't know, something, you lose a lot of people who are playing the game for exploration purposes, right? You just have to show them what's at the end. And how do you achieve that? And I think it's very limited what ArenaNet themselves can do. And I would actually say that And that way, they are not wrong necessarily, and a lot of people are going to meme about this. I think their approach to go with content creators is actually like a good way, because this is how I would look up a new game. If I wanted to actually go into BDO right now, my first step would be to either go to the homepage, look at what classes there are and like what the features to the classes are. And the next thing I would do is I would look up YouTube videos of the raids or something. I would look up a streamer and hopefully watch what the endgame content is like, because ArenaNet can't very well make a video of what the entire raid looks like. That would spoil the entire content. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I completely understand what you're saying, dude. It's and I guess the approach I would say is that ArenaNet's marketing fails because there's just not enough exposure all the time. You know, they come out with a new raid wing. They don't advertise there's a new raid wing. Okay, you know, the actual community, the players who are interested in it, knows. Okay, that's fine. Okay, but you know, I hear about when there's a new WoW raid or whatever. Like, you know, I don't hear there's a new Guild Wars 2 raid wing.
Are you saying the screenshot they posted wasn't enough? Wow.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, just to be
absolutely right.
Just to be clear,
absolutely agree with
it's
that.
You know, you release a trailer for the new raids. You say all that stuff, you get people hyped, and then you have in-game stuff to talk about, you know, stuff. Like, you know, it's just straight up. They need to be talking about this stuff more. They need to be clearer.
So that's something they could do. They could improve their trailers to actually show what's happening in game, rather than just like a few screenshots of the landscape or something. Show features in trailers. Yeah. And I think that's something they addressed in the marketing thing, right? They said that they never thought about trailers as something that would attract new players. They always thought about it as like an announcement for the in-game players who already know, right? But, and they also said that they're going to improve this, and that they are now willing to improve this, and that they are seeing this new level.
Okay,
right?
Of course. And we need to see what the new trailer for the upcoming Living World looks like. Okay, if it's not a separate trailer for the raid wing, or if there is one, or the fractal, then they fundamentally failed. Okay, because they have not shown players who are interested in that specific content to, you know, what they want to be seeing. Okay,
I watched the Final Fantasy 14 trailer the other day, and it was actually really good. It showed you the cutscenes to the bosses. It showed you like story aspects. It was like a 5-minute trailer or something, but it was packed with in-game information. Like, these are the new features, these are the new bosses. It looked fucking amazing, and it hyped me up for the game, despite me never actually having wanted to play that game. But I absolutely agree with that.
Mm. Yeah, that is obviously really good. But do you think we need to kind of go? Yeah, like, obviously, like the awareness situation is a really big deal. Like, as you say, I completely agree with everything you guys just said.
Because it's right.
But yes, because it is right. And I would say that's kind of objective fact. To a certain extent, I'm not sure if that attacks the problem at its kind of core level, though. I mean, you know, all marketing is still well and good. We're not adding Brazil, guys, okay? Like, we're not doing that. Right? What the fuck are you guys doing? But
no, of course, marketing is not the only thing.
No,
right?
I'm not sure if that would really solve the problem as such. Do you think there needs to be some kind of method for players to understand? I mean, I guess it sounds obvious, and we really should. I can't believe it's taken an hour and 17 minutes for us to get to this. But does there need to be some kind of tutorial about every single core mechanic of the game? For example,
very much.
I think the really important one would obviously be boons, right? Boons, conditions, you know, combo finishes as well. You know, we can have that in there as well. I mean,
wait a minute. You might offend somebody. You're trying to help them get better now. You might offend somebody, bro.
What you
tutorials? Do? No, I'm uninstalling the game, bro. I'm uninstalling, bro.
I don't think anybody.
Memeing aside, okay. Memeing aside,
Come
okay.
on, man.
All they do before you do like the level 1 story or some shit, okay. You literally get ported into an instance before the main story even occurs, and it goes through. You know, it could be in the mist or some shit. It doesn't matter what the story is, and it goes through all the basic mechanics. Okay, just straight up.
There ain't fucking myth to that.
What I will say though is I think there is the actual game population is far more tilted towards casual players. Okay, and I think the way ArenaNet needs to needs to approach this is actually bring players into the game, because I don't think there's that many players in the game who are willing to improve and willing to engage in this content, with that, who haven't already gone through and done so. Okay, by bringing new players in, you can expand that, that more hardcore segment outwards of it. And there are certainly players who are looking to get into a new MMO. They just need to actually approach them, and that's why I think the external advertising is more important than internal stuff, because they need to increase that player base if they want to reach out to it, right?
I would like to think of Guild Wars 2 as a football team, and the devs, the coaches, and the devs are going to know that there's going to be water boys, and then there's going to be stars, and then there's going to be people in between. Okay, bodies, what we call them. Okay, and ArenaNet needs to do one thing for the players that are coming in as a freshman, and is teach them the fundamentals of how to throw a ball, the fundamental how to run the ball, the fundamentals of how to throw a ball, how to catch a ball, how to kick the ball. Those things need to be into the game, not through the fucking wiki page. God knows every time I do something, it's on the fucking wiki page. I'm stuck on that wiki page more than I'm stuck in the game. They need to have those fundamentals into the game. If the player decides to be a water boy, then let him be a water boy. It's fine. It's completely fine. Let him be a water boy. But
I agree. A tutorial would be so good. Things like break bars people don't understand that when they come into raids, and they because you're barely confronted with it. And when you are confronted with it in the core game, it barely even matters. So people just I don't know. I regularly see people not breaking anything because. You know how I did these like Auric Bezen but break stuff? There's so many people who never break things in open world, and just a tutorial. This is CC. Like a tutorial. This is the difference between condition damage and power damage. How many people are just leveling their character and they're picking power stuff on and they run around with I don't know. Maybe that's a detail, but
that just doesn't matter though, right? That really doesn't matter in open world in particular. But sorry, go ahead, Big. Go ahead, Big.
It's very detailed.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I'm actually what he just said gave you an orgasm.
Ooh.
It's the understanding, the difference between power and condition. The understanding between power and condition. The understanding of actually knowing what you're doing from 1 to 20 is so much fun. The understanding of knowing where to go, the understanding of knowing why you're doing it and how you're doing is actually fun. Learning is fun. Learning is so much fun. When you watch a video on how to fix your plumbing toilet, it's fun because not only do you get to get the shit out of the toilet, but you also get to be known as a plumber. Okay? So it's actually fun. Learning is fun. So just let the analogies go. Just let them go, please. I'm the lyrical genius.
They're amazing, okay? Dude. I applaud
Thank you. Just let the analogies go. Please go. Look past what I'm just saying. The aspect of learning an MMO is fun. It's not about just looking at the thing and just doing it. Why you're doing it, why the buff is proccing, why the passive is proccing, why you're activating 2 before 3, why you're doing power versus conditions, why you're doing all of that stuff. Knowing the fundamentals before you go be thrown out into the world is the reason MMO players stack power and stack vitality and stack precision. That's what gets you excited. That's what makes you want an MMO, bro. The stats, the ability of actually building this baby, this little baby you named Biggs the Snake. It's growing. It's getting so bigger. Level 50 now, level 60, 70. Oh, look at him. It's so big. Now 80, he's a fucking man. You put gear on him and bam, man. He's got condition damage. He's melting your face. That's what makes you play MMOs, bro. The ability of running around, not knowing what the fuck you're doing, is not why you play MMOs, bro. That's not why you play MMOs.
I must say, we once did a beginner stream with the German community a while ago, and what I tried there was to actually level up with a condition spec, and I thought that was actually incredibly fun. And I think a lot of people wouldn't even consider that. I think a lot of people wouldn't even consider to select. Oh, the release.
Oh, release time.
Release! That's one way to interrupt what I'm saying. Well, no. But a lot of people.
I'm sorry, but what? Like,
we needed a release, dude. We needed a fucking release.
I think most people come into the game and they just pick power because power is something you kind of understand naturally, right? Nobody actually picks condition gear. Or like a very few people actually pick condition gear. And if they do, they don't know what to do with it. But you could actually just by understanding that like you need to look out for that weapon. Some weapons apply bleeding, some don't. That's condi depth.
Yeah.
It can add so much fun to even the leveling up progress. Like, I started on a Condi Rev actually, and I unlocked the spinning hammers and the trait that gives you like on crit, yeah. So and I equipped a mace, and suddenly I was able to deal with huge amounts of open world mobs, and it felt super fun. And I've never had that much fun in like a low level thing, But it's most people will just naturally equip power. I'd say.
Yeah, that's true. And once again, this kind of goes back to the core mechanics thing. That there probably should... Is there this? I mean, so I want to submit myself to the chat here. Is there ever an explanation in the game of what all the stats do? Like, what all the stats mean? No. Right, so... Because I didn't think there was, and I don't want to spout bullshit, right? So...
when I was doing it for godsofpvp.net, I had to go onto the wiki to find out. Like, to confirm that I was correct.
I didn't learn it until, like, months into the game when I joined a guild of somebody who actually taught me dungeons, who actually told me equip Berserker gear. I didn't even know what Berserker gear was. I didn't even know.
Okay. So in that case, that probably needs to... guys, we need to be constructive, okay, boys? Let's be constructive. And that is kind of what we need, right? You want to... maybe there should be an explanation of what all these stats do. And more importantly, this is something that I think people have already complained about, but guys, let's talk about tooltips in the game, right? The tooltips in the game might bamboozle you a little bit, okay? Right, you might get a little bit bamboozled, okay? You guys know what I'm saying?
Oh, dear.
Right, if you hover your abilities over the skill, for example, sometimes some abilities that have conditions on them actually do a lot of power damage, right? Which is kind of like, well, what's going on here, man? I don't understand, right? So there's a lot of situations where it's not immediately apparent what kind of weapon the weapon you're using is, right? Like you might, I think like a good example. This could be stuff like dagger, right, on Ellie. Although it kind of turns out it's like a hybrid weapon, right? Like Mesmer Scepter 3, right? Does a lot of power damage, but I don't know. This is kind of nitpicky, I suppose, but there's a lot of nuances to the game. But this gets very difficult. This gets very difficult and weird when you start talking about stuff like Reaper, right? Like, this is the great example of why this can get weird. Because Reaper Greatsword is a power weapon, right? But it turns out that it's actually better as a condition weapon because of the way it interacts with the blind trait.
It's actually true.
And the whirl finishes in ice fields, right? So this is Guild Wars 2's problem. The game is so nuanced to a certain extent. It has so much complexity to it. It is very difficult for ArenaNet to say these black and white statements about certain things. There's stuff they put in the game that they don't realize until the community figures it out, right? So this is where it gets very difficult to make this kind of tutorial, this kind of learning experience, except for the very basic stuff. Except for the very, very basic stuff. Because as the game spreads out, right, all of these different systems interacting with each other with like all these different boons, and the thing is, you can get these boons from so many places, right? Like how do you know what's optimal? Like ArenaNet like can't possibly make that, can't possibly start making these claims, right? And like being a bit more prescriptive, giving too much direction in Guild Wars 2 will end up being incorrect, right? It's very it's a difficult thing for ArenaNet to do here, and it's to a certain extent Guild Wars 2 requires some work from the player to actually figure out how to play it, and or right, you have to reach out to the community and you have the community do this, right? Because the community does do this already, right? The community has stuff like Snowcrows, has stuff like Gods of PvP, right? This already exists, right? But it's not on the it's in my opinion, it's not on the game to tell you this, right? But I don't know.
I think to add to what you're saying, I think as a new player, no disrespect to you and anybody out there that creates this content, Actually, I'm gonna attack myself. I don't give a fuck about Biggs the Snake, the Ranger. I'm not gonna watch his shitty ass content. Fuck him. I'm gonna be a better Ranger. I'm gonna be the best Ranger. Fuck this Biggs the Snake guy. I'm gonna be the best Ranger I've ever fucking been. I'm gonna log into this game and I'm gonna figure it out myself. I'm gonna be the best I could ever be. You know, if the player wants to take that revenue and the game gives them a decent tutorial on, you know, what's power and what's Condi, what the boons are, what's the condition damages are, then the player should have that. He shouldn't have to log off the game to go watch my video or to go on a website to fucking download something. He's not learning anything. He's just going and just fucking copying and pasting what's on that website, and then he doesn't understand why he's doing it. And I think, to me, as a fundamental MMO player, I think it's a big problem with most players. They wait for that guide before they try it out. But I think if the game kind of held their hand just for a couple levels, they wouldn't need that guide. They'd be like, okay, cool, let's just try it out. Well, you know, nothing to lose. You know, I don't really see what the problem is with that. And I think new players would appreciate that. I think new players will really appreciate that because they're doing something and they're understanding why they're doing it, rather than just fucking mindlessly downloading something off a website. No disrespect to you, Angeels, for your website or anybody else out there. I know you guys put a lot of time into it, but those websites are now meant for a little higher understanding and progression to the game of what you need to get to the next level. Those websites are not needed for leveling. Those websites are not needed for... Those levels actually hinder the progression of you because you're now only doing it because you're being told to do it, not because you understand why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Guides do not... Yeah, guides do not replace actually getting to know your class.
And guides, this is something that is really apparent in the raid community, I think. Like, a lot of people know where to stand at a certain time in the raid fight, but they don't actually understand the fight, and they certainly don't understand what their class does, right? People don't understand what their abilities really do as such. They just know that pressing them in this order does a lot of damage, right? So that's a subtle distinction, but it's an important one, I think. And I don't know. This does come down to the fact that, yeah, perhaps there should be a more basic tutorial that explains the core mechanics. As we said, I think that's what we need to really address. I think this is a community thing. This is where things get very difficult. You know, chat is on to us, dude. Right? Okay. This is where things get very, very twisty, turny, and spaghetti. It's very difficult to have a conversation about this because it's a twofold problem. That it's well, not really a twofold. It's kind of a twofold problem. That there's stuff in the game that can be done, but there's also a lot the way the community is that kind of perpetuates these problems, if you know what I mean, right? Like, and when I say problems, they're not even really problems, right? We say they're problems because we want something specific and we feel a particular way about the game, but the fact that people just want to beat the game casually, or just cruise through raids or just have some fun, that isn't a problem. That's just a different mentality, and that's kind of the way gaming in general is going. Like, a great analogy is, guys, let's just go back a little bit to a time when Westwood Studios existed. Let's take a look at Red Alert 2, guys, okay? A beautiful, one of the best games literally ever made. And now let's look at the Command & Conquer franchise today, guys. It is a shitty, simplified, pay-to-win, horrific piece of trash mobile game, okay? Like, welcome to 2018, guys, okay? Give me the fucking time machine, seriously, right? That's kind of we're fighting against we're fighting against time here, man. Like, at the end of the day, this is time, dude. Time. Woo. Yeah. I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts on that. Those are my thoughts on the issues.
I think that if you look at MMORPGs, they're a vast, massive, simulated RPG, right? Like, they're pretty much RPGs, except you can do it with friends and family and whoever you want to do it with, right? So they're just RPGs. And in every RPG that I've ever played, I've logged in, I heard the story, and then from there they tell me the same exact thing. They tell me my WASD, they tell me my F key, they tell me my slice key. They tell me the basic abilities. Even though those things are so basic, they still tell me those are basic abilities. And then they get into a little more detail. I get into a little combat. And this is just like single player RPG games, okay? Now, MMORPGs, which are obviously a lot more invest, a lot more detailed, have a lot more combat oriented stuff, should do a really good job of doing that. And I think the MMOs that I said before Guild Wars 2, do a really good job on doing that, and Guild Wars 2 does a very bad job on doing so. They don't expect those. There's WoW casual players. There's casual players in BDO. There's casual players in ESO. There's casual players in all these games, and those players choose through the fundamentals to either get better or not get better. And there's not just casual players in Guild Wars 2, and that's it. There's casual players in every community, and there's a hardcore community in every community. That's it.
That's true, but the relative sizes of those are very different. And the hardcore community in Guild Wars 2 is very small.
I think we're circling around.
Yeah, we really are. Like
that,
this is something that we shouldn't even be fighting it. Like
what are we talking about? Like how can we improve the game for new players? Are we like if we do, then I think we should like talk about possible solutions rather than just always saying it's because people are casual, people don't know this, people don't read that chat, etc.
Yes,
like,
the solutions are the primary point of discussion.
We said the solutions like 6 times.
Like we talk like trailers and stuff, and then we went back to as a casual someone to learn the game. Like, what else can they do in the game? Like, how can they improve the opening instance? I would for one say that they could improve. Like, Big pointed this out completely correctly. The opening sequence is basically you running to a boss that is completely OP, and then you auto attack him with like a toothbrush, and you kill him eventually. What you could do, you could like add one of the hands to have a break bar, and then except of giving the warrior a sword, you give him a mace or something, and then it says like it has a little indication. Use this skill to apply break bar damage through CC or something. You could put a lot of this stuff into the opening sequence, in my opinion.
See, I think we've said this. I've said this a couple times. You've said this a couple times, and like I think that's the solution, to add all of these things into the game through. We obviously can't make the last call. We can suggest these calls, and they'll have to do so. But it's crazy. It's crazy like to try to talk about this and then have chat react the way they're reacting about helping new players out. Like. It's crazy how you guys are acting so immature about what would make more players come into your game to play your game, and you guys are acting like it's gonna burn the game down. Like, you guys are tearing down your own community. It's crazy. Like, I don't understand why you guys even act like that.
All right. Well, let's look. We have to be nice to chat, dude. Okay, chat. They're just memeing, dude. They're just memeing. Let's bring in the memes. Oh boy. But okay. When it comes to solutions and the opening thing, I think Roca has a really great idea. And a big problem is that I really dislike how they limit. I mean, this is something that happened ages ago. I think the new player experience that they actually added to the game, I genuinely think it was just horrible. The fact that they limit you,
it was abysmal.
It's appalling. Like the fact that it limits you to having no utility skills, only auto attack, and no down state is just. This is such an important mechanic in the game, and you don't have down state until like level 5 or something. I don't even know. Right?
I mean, straight up. Okay, you should have access to the first 5 skills. Okay, on your the weapon skills, right? It makes no sense not to have those, because a lot of people will come into the game and they won't realize that your skills are tied to your weapon. Okay, well, yeah, that's the case. So we should just make it so then it's you can see them all right off the bat. You should access your utility skills. Like by the level 40, you should have access to everything, in my opinion. And
everything is in what? Everything, all the specs,
as in all specializations, all utilities, and then from there you kind of add, you kind of just, I don't know how to describe it. You need to make sure that there's still progression after level 40, for instance, in this case, just an arbitrary level. But you need to sorry, just someone else speak.
Well, here's the thing. Does there need to be a lot of progression? I mean, you have gear. You still have to acquire some gear, I suppose, and it's kind of weird how it kind of changes how it works exactly. Like one will have you start with just like +4 power, right, or whatever, like +7 power. But there is some level of progression there. They don't want to overwhelm the new guy, but you already have to unlock skill points anyway. Right, and I might even accelerate that. So you can get to your abilities quicker, right? Because you start the game with so little buttons to press, right? And like, does that really overwhelm new players, like having like 7 abilities to press? I mean,
the biggest draw of this game, in my opinion, is the combat. Okay, and with the few number of buttons that you get at the beginning really limits how much you can how well you can experience the combat, right?
I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna get flamed for saying it.
Okay,
do it. Lay it down.
I've always liked the old trade system. And
finding skills.
The five trade system that we had back in vanilla Guild Wars 2. Where we had five walls instead of the 3 things that we have now. And the reason I liked it so much is because it was very enjoyable seeing the little thing top right hand corner with your hero point where it would just line up, and it would say you've got power, precision, vitality, toughness, and boon or whatever. I think it was boon duration or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what the last one was, and it would excite me every level to get to the next level because I got +5 power or +5 precision or whatever, and I knew every single level I got just that much stronger. And I looked at all my traits, and I knew that if I could mix and match all my traits, it would give me just one more reason to level to get to the next level. I love that old system of the trade system, and I think that the new Guild Wars 2 needs that old system back, because back then we never gave it a chance. We actually never gave it a chance because those traits back then were broken. Those traits then actually didn't work because like the tooltips would say it does this, but it actually wouldn't trigger. So it never got a chance to actually work. I think with the new subspecs that we have now, it would bring the excitement of leveling, getting those traits unlocked every single level, and fixing some fundamental core issues with classes like Revenant that need something like Herald to be there. Like you can tap 1 point of Herald and unlock the entire class of Herald and then move on to the next straight lines. Like, I know this is I'm gonna get flamed for this because I get flamed for every time I say this, and it's fine. You guys can flame me if you want. But I know what I liked in Guild Wars 2, and I know why I leveled in Guild Wars 2, and I know why I leveled so many times in Guild Wars 2, and those fundamental points that I got every single level made me feel like I was getting something. +5, +5, +5, +5. And then when I got to level 60, I got the Grandmaster traits, and I would just blow things up then, and it was a lot of fun. It was so much fun. With the new system, with the new system, it's like you get those things, but the power up isn't that great. And for a fact you're not going to get your big power up until level 80, and then you're just like rushing through everything. You're not really enjoying anything. You're just rushing through everything to get to the level 80, just so you can get the next trade line of profession. And face it, like if you got those trees unlocked in the beginning and you were to play with those traits on, it would be a lot more fun. Fun for me at least. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think you're definitely right. I mean, making a big impact when you level up is definitely really good. 100%, I completely agree with you on that. But I think there are some pretty big impact traits, though. I mean, yeah, some of them are kind of dull. And yeah, this is something I've talked about in the past. Right? I really think that they probably should rework a lot of the more boring traits, right? Stuff like having a Grandmaster trait in Ellie or in Elementalist or Revenant that's like 2% damage per boon. Well, that's not very exciting, is it, right? But then you do have some really great traits. Like I think some really cool traits is what they did with the Engie rework, right? Like Purity of Purpose. That's a great trait, right?
It is a great trait.
Yeah, that's a great trait, right? or let me think. Some other ones. I don't know. Stuff like Big Shade, right? Like Big Shade. I mean, also, it's an infamous trait. Right?
It changes
something, right? Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that changes things.
I think. I know we're talking about traits here, but I think actually the best way of kind of doing this is with perhaps runes. Runes are something where there is little to no diversity at all, and I think a big rework of them. Like I know they've done rework in the past, but like the 6th bonus is more competitive with others and much more interesting and engaging. Like other games have done this very well, where they have bonuses, and then the final one is fairly high impact. I think ArenaNet should take another look at that, and because I mean, think about it, right? Like whilst Surging Rune was really OP, it was kind of interesting in the fact that you gained this when you used an elite skill. Okay. And I know this is really moving away from this new players idea, but I think you can have reasonable progression through, or add a lot of progression through like updated runes, and you have to work to get them, that sort of thing. At least that's the way I see it.
I said this. I was talking to Lazy Peon last night on my channel, and I was having some, not really a debate, but more of a discussion with him about as a new player experience and stuff like that. And as you go into Guild Wars 2, and you start talking about runes, traits, sigils, you're talking about dungeons, you talk about PvP, you talk about World's World, you talk about the engine. It comes down to the end game question, which is, when is Guild Wars 3 coming? Because the entire game needs a lot of work. The entire game, it can go in every single direction. When is Guild Wars 3 going to come out? When is Guild Wars 3 coming? When is Guild Wars 3 going to drop? Because there's so many things. Like, you could talk about this for 65 days straight, nonstop, and you can go in 15 different ways.
Well, I don't know. I think I kind of want to steer it. I don't. This is a direction that I don't think is particularly relevant.
Very
I think that's a little off topic. So we should probably steer it back. I saw Peon say something really interesting in chat actually about how the reason players need a reason to be hardcore in the game, and this kind of goes back to something that I said a little earlier on the stream. Like the reason to be hardcore in Guild Wars 2 is just basically for the sake of it, for the most part. I mean, in PvP, obviously, winning, that's pretty good. I mean, that's a reason enough for me. I fucking love winning, boys. I'm about that. All right, but you can win the tournaments, you can win the monthly tournaments, you can get the, rank 1 leaderboard. So in PvP, I think it's pretty clear-cut, but...
I actually think PvP has some of the best rewards in the game for it. Like, you have, a special gizmo for winning the tournament, to get a title for being top in a season. Like, if PvE had any of that, I would enjoy it way more. Like...
Well, there kind of is. There's still glory, right? Like, there's still glory for doing it, like being the best. Like, being the best, in my opinion, is kind of its own reward. And there's something similar in World versus World, right? Like, everyone knows who the best server is, right? Like, everyone knows which server wins the fights, right? And even to a certain extent, everyone knows the best guilds, right? Like, everyone knows which guilds win the GVGs. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty well known stuff. And when it comes to this, it seems to me that it should come from... If you really need rewards to be baited into being a hardcore player, are you really a hardcore player? I mean, you can call me a traditionalist. You can call me a traditionalist,
right? Because, I don't know, someone like me is very goal-orientated, so, having something to work towards makes me want to do it, and I guess kind of prestige of completing it and the actually completing something makes me feel good. That's kind of what I enjoy, but I know for others it's kind of a difficult one. It's very perspective based, I guess.
I think this whole argument comes from a gear treadmill kind of perspective. Like, most other games, you play raids because you're going to get better gear through them, right? And you're going to improve your character. And you have character progression. And I think in Guild Wars 2, that's just fundamentally different, because you're not really improving your gear after a certain point. Like, Ascended is the maximum, but rather than improving your gear further for one build, it's more about getting more gear sets, right? Like, it's kind of what I feel is my end game drive to do fractals, for example, right? You get more Ascended gear, you can play different specs, right? Eventually, I'm able to play a Condi warrior and a power warrior for raids, right? And I get to swap around.
Can they really? But that's the whole thing, though, man. Can they really go back and in the next expansion or whatever, add any more sigils and gears. Like, where can you take the game from here? Like, you can talk about revamp, but like, where can you take the game from here when it comes down to gear wise? Like, you've already got the legendary gear, you've already got your legendary amulets, legendary weapons. Like, where do you take the game from here? And gear wise, like, if you decide to make upgraded gear, you're gonna piss off the casuals that you guys always talk about.
I don't think casuals care about the gear. I think casuals are perfectly fine with exotics gear. They're fine just like doing map exploration, getting random stats exotics, I think.
So you would say that, because Angeels hit a really good point. And this is going back to the new players. I'm not changing the subject. And this is what I was saying back earlier when we changed it. Angel said, we need to rework, sigils and runes and stuff like that, right? But like, new players come into this game and they want to, be innovative and change the meta or figure things out themselves, and they go through like, fucking 50 different runes and they try everything out, and just the regular streamer in the last couple of days has been streaming literally, what's his name, Nico has been streaming just off meta Mesmer and trying to figure it out just by doing it, and which is great. That's what the game needs. But then the veteran players watch it and they see it and they're like, well, this is not going to work because those runes don't work. Those runes are pretty much trash. And again, it's not the fact that he's a bad player. It's the fact that he understands why he's using those things. The options are so vast. He's using them, but he doesn't understand why he's using them. And the options are so vast. So a rework, not only in the leveling system, not only in the tutorial system, but in the runes. And like, there's so many different ways of going things, but there's not enough information across the board on any of the stuff that we're talking about.
No, I think we're kind of missing the point here, right? Like, the comment that Peon made was that, there has to be something to strive for in game. Okay, now there is in part something to strive for. Okay, so ArenaNet needs to make it clearer to new players. We've already discussed this, like talked about this. That players need to be aware of what's at in game. But then ArenaNet also needs to expand end game. Okay, they need to. I really feel that there needs to be some more progression at end game. Not necessarily gear progression, but something that you can long term do. Okay.
What's the answer to that, bro? Like I really don't know.
That's
the like, I can't answer that. You can. Who can actually answer that though? Like,
that's kind of why I said something like runes or something where you could just work towards it. But like, again,
this conversation won't go anywhere until we can answer that. No, that's
like,
the problem.
Okay, maybe this is. I want to kind of hit this with an unpopular opinion. Like, in my mind, guys, we're kind of assuming that the game needs to go somewhere. But guys, I've said this before, and people kind of look at me like I'm crazy. Guys, PvP is kind of finished, except for balance.
Yes,
it's done.
That's the case.
I agree for PvP. I disagree for World vs. World. World vs. World
couldn't take. World v World is nowhere near.
What do you mean finished? Like, what do you mean by that?
It means that there's nothing more really to add.
Yeah.
Okay. Like PvP, when they finish Swiss and when 2v2 is added, which is happening around the same time, from my understanding, PvP for the most part, with the exception of adding some, the balancing, which will be, they should always shake up balance.
Yeah.
But aside from that, PvP's finished. Okay. Yeah. World v World has a fair of a way to go. I think World v World is a little different from PvP in that they can always add something new, like a new borderland or something different. But yeah, it's
I think a big issue World vs. World has, and I'm not by all means not a great World vs. World player or experienced, right? But whenever I hear that people just transfer servers for matchups, etc., I always feel like there's a lack of reward for actually like winning with your server.
Trouble is that that's very easy to manipulate with the way that the game is currently. That is the problem with... This is why it's taken them so long to add more rewards to World vs. World, and why they have to be very careful when they do it. I think they're almost certainly going to do exactly what we're talking about when they add alliances, guys. And after alliances, I very much hope that World vs. World will be in the finished state, right? It's going to be in a situation where it's guild-based, so you have a reason to win, because you want to be the best guild ever, Okay, and they will hopefully add rewards for winning as well and being good based on how your alliance performs. Hopefully, this is ambitious, guys, but they'll add alliances, right, to the game. But after that, like, the game is kind of done, right? Like, it's finished. There's no
finished to Guild Wars 3 or finished to, like, can you explain what you mean by like where we're going to
I mean, when I say finish with regards to PvP, in my opinion, the game systems as they are perfect for PvP. Not perfect, but you know what I mean, right? In my opinion, it is on the community, not ArenaNet, to resolve the resolve a lot of the things with PvP. If you want to be competitive, start being competitive in PvP. Get rank 1, win the monthly AT, like dethrone the people who are good, right?
And that's where it kind of comes back to, in my opinion, where anyone that wants to improve has already done so. And if ArenaNet wants to really expand these game modes, they need to get in new players.
Yeah, I think that will be the direction to go in with that. Because I think the PvP systems are really great, right? Like they have a good ladder system, they have ATs, they have the monthly stuff as well, all really good stuff. Cookie wants me to play an AT. Can't do it right now, buddy. Sorry. Okay, like all this stuff is already going on, right? It's already going on. So there's nothing really to complain about here. Again, this is a little off topic, I suppose. Just a little off topic, but I don't mind. We can go a little off topic, guys. But I don't know. Maybe you can call me a traditionalist, okay, and maybe an old man, but surely, like, the motivation to improve in a game should come from you, not from the game itself. I mean, there is to say that there's no motivation to be good. This kind of goes back all the way to the core thing. There's no motivation to improve and kind of get good. I think that's very disingenuous, honestly. I
think there's a huge motivation for players in this game to get better. I think there's a lot of new players that come into this community that want to get better, and I think that there's as long as they seek to get better, they will get better. And I feel like look at Peon. We were just talking about this a minute ago, like six level 80s already. Is how many he has? Peon, how many level 80s do you have? Like 6, 7? How many did you do in like in a week or two?
He's progressed a crazy amount. It's actually insane.
Like he asked for it and he's fucking doing it, bro, like a boss. You know what I'm saying? And if you want to get better, you will get better. I boosted them. Well, at least hold on. At least you figure out how to do it by yourself, bro. At least you figured it out.
But that's what I'm saying is Peon.
At least you did figure it out.
But Peon didn't enjoy the core game, okay? And Peon just went that step and he just said, "Fuck it, I'm boosting," and kept if the game is fun that way, you get to experience the part of the game that you do think of fun, then I think that's perfectly fine.
I think that if like we go right back to the same circle, if they do just a little bit better job on explaining the core fundamentals, the game will only grow. It can't shrink because people will understand the beauty of it. I picked this game up, like half my chat picked this game up multiple times and dropped it multiple times until we got backed up into a corner, didn't have anything else to play. We gave this game a shot. We realized how beautiful this game was, how good this game was, and then we learned this game and we fell in love with it. And I think a lot of people in this community will do the same thing. And I think this conversation itself will allow players to say, maybe these 4 people have something they're actually trying to. There might be people in chat right now that are watching that say this game is trash, but then they watch the streams like this that we're talking about the new player experience and tell them that you're missing out, and they might say, you know what, maybe I am missing out. Maybe I should log back in and give it one more go because these guys aren't talking for no reason. Just this podcast like this helps a lot just to be able to bring awareness and tell players keep on playing because you're missing out on content that is actually really good that could very, very possibly make you enjoy this game again. But the fundamental core of the game, I would before this thing ends, I would like to talk about one thing that's happening in the community right now. If you guys are done with that conversation, that could transition the entire game, which is downstate. That right there, was put into our lap as an event, and people left and right are talking about it. How, on my end, how great it is for roamers and small scale.
I think it's very good for roamers, but I think it's very bad for people who like big fights. I mean, we can talk about this, but I think the new player. Right, I'm not gonna lie, guys. I think it will be fair to say that the new player discussion has kind of run its course, right? I think that will be. I think that will be quite. Okay, all right. I think that was actually a pretty damn nice discussion. Honestly, I thought it was pretty good.
I think we should talk a little bit more about how casuals aren't elitists and how about our dislikes of that. I think we should focus on that a bit more.
The dislikes of wait, really? Are you fucking trolling me? I don't even know, dude. I mean, what? Wait.
No, go on now.
Yeah, can we talk about how we're gonna have a tutorial? Or
well, we already did that. We already did the tutorial thing. Yeah.
Stop getting.
Yeah, we can talk. We can talk very briefly about the no downstates. I do want to kind of. I think it's about time to kind of wrap this up. But yeah, we can talk a little bit about the no downstate for a little bit if you want. Yeah, for sure. So. Do you want to go on this, Vic, or should I go wide? I don't think it's really that good.
Go ahead. It's your show. Go ahead,
the way the game is right now, and you could definitely argue that this is a balance issue. Like in my opinion, to have no downstate permanently, you'd have to completely rework the balance of the game.
Yes.
For world versus world, that is okay. The way it is right now, if the fights are just they're almost instantaneously over, and they're incredibly stompy, right? Like they're very, very stompy, the way it is right now. Yeah, that's because of the way the servers are, right? Blah, 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 blah. But the fact of the matter is that it promotes this quite cancerous gameplay of just like two teams are going to stand at 1200 range and like mash abilities until one of them is all dead, right? Like, I mean, yeah, maybe it was kind of like that already, right? But it's just taken it even further, in my opinion. It amplified the problems with the current world versus world metagame for large scale, like to like untold levels, right? Like the level at which you're now rewarded for just like stacking fucking necros, like stacking revs, is just juicy. It's just, I don't know. I don't think that's particularly good. Like it just promotes the gameplay that no one really likes. Well, not a lot of people enjoy. It promotes it more and just makes it more AIDS, right? I don't know.
So that's you basing off the current balance, though. This is like looking at a concept car and then looking at it and be like, oh, that's not going to work. Well, the technology's not behind it yet, so the traits aren't behind it yet. So trying to make an analogy on not an analogy, but trying to say, well, this is not going to work based on the current traits. Then yeah, you're right. It's not going to work. You're absolutely damn right. But you rework those traits and then you reintroduce it again with another trial weekend. And see and test it out like that, then they could very possibly work. But
keeping downstate out of the game permanently would be bad. It adds a lot of especially for PvP. It adds another element to the fight. I know a lot of people look at this and go, well, it's pointless, and to an extent, it kind of is pointless. But it does make the combat more complicated, and there is counterplay to it, right? I think the biggest problems that people have with downstate right now are the fact that, well, balance issues, that you can just instantly res in many cases, like Blood Scourge and Firebrand. That it's very difficult, and you can't really stomp in the current metas, at least. So I think it's they need to have a look at that, and I think the primary problems with that downstate do come from balance.
I tend to agree with that. I think most criticism to downstate comes from the downstate kind of being too strong and it not really accounting to anything, to actually having killed somebody, because in most cases in good PvP groups they're just going to be up again right away and you can't really do anything on it. Yep. Something an issue I have with is like kind of thinking that you have to beat somebody not using your entire repertoire, because you're still going to have to kill them in downstate and have to prevent a res, you know?
Yeah, it's a little silly. But that's just the way the balance definitely needs to be addressed. I do think downstate does add something, especially in World vs. World. I think in World vs. World in particular, like in PvP, they've already nerfed it. They made you so you don't get the invuln frames. I think it is kind of good in PvP, but they do need to like tone down like the res power. Like the res power is maybe a little much to a certain extent.
The res power and being unable to stomp is the biggest
issue,
I'd say.
But in World vs. World, I really think that in World vs. World is a game mode where you can just get fucked instantly, and having the potential to recover from that, I think is is very much okay. But yeah, there should be like you can definitely argue that some of the downstates are maybe a little too strong, right? And like a lot of interactions with downstate can be very annoying, right? It is, I don't know.
I talked about this today on stream, and I said that from going from our back to doggy style would be, it would, like, to me, okay, so when a player goes out, I feel like that player's already been defeated. not by himself, but had been defeated through his team because his team let him down. But at the same time, he got defeated through his skills. He's down. Okay, he's down but not out. Removing downstate as it is would be a bad idea because it would kill exactly what we just talked about. But removing that player, the ability to be able to CC DPS while in downstate, snare, cripple, whatever, I think is a very good idea. I think that players should be able to be on their, like Fortnite. Like I think Fortnite downstate is very, very good because the player goes down and you have an ability to either res that player or fight or build a house around that player to be able to res them. And that house in MMOs are called skills. So being able to sit there and see that player not being able to, like, a player should not be able to res by himself. He should go down in downstate, and if there's no one else around him, he should die. He should not be able to get up by himself through healing in PvP or War of this World unless there's somebody there resing him. And being able to take those abilities away from him and making that player having to the rescue player, which is the guardian or whoever's going to rescue him, having to choose either defeat the player that's killing him or res the players on the ground by using his and burning his cooldowns, is what I think this game would make the game very, very.
It seems you just want to attack the more problematic downstates than like Ranger, I guess. Like the other ones are not. I don't know.
Ellie.
I mean,
Ellie is
the Ellie one really that bad though? I don't mind them having that level of. I don't think most of the downstate abilities are particularly problematic. I mean, the Necro downstate is cancer. Like, that's extremely cancerous. That is true. But not most of them aren't particularly relevant.
Ellie, Mesmer, Thief, Necro, Ranger, Warrior. I mean, they're all like so unique that it literally, like, it gives them one more chance to actually. The chance of them going down is the ability of having multiple players on top of you. The ability of being a team. If they go down, the teammate has to figure out either res you or not, but you shouldn't be able to CC kill and DPS all at the same time. Like, that's you're favoring players that are already down to be able to get the fuck back up again and be able to do it again, and be able, like, some classes are actually stronger in downstate than they're in upstate. So actually, it's not classes. Some players are actually like when I kill bad necros. When I kill bad necros, some bad necros are actually better in downstate. Like if they were just sitting in downstate the whole time and they just pressed 1, they would actually do more damage.
Well, that is true. Now that is true.
I've tested this.
I think downstate is just overall too strong. Like it takes, like you're up for too long, you keep surviving for too long. It's too easy to rush you up. Like it should just be over quicker, right? Yeah. Like it should just be more punishing to actually go into downstate.
No, I definitely agree with that. I mean, some of this stuff should be. It should be if you go down, there should be like a very high chance that you end up dead on the ground, right? Like, if you are into the downside, I'd say particularly in PvP, and well, World vs. World is very abusive. There's like a lot of transfusion and merciful abuse going on right now in World vs. World. Yeah, like you should be more fucked in these gamers if you end up dying. And yeah, like definitely some changes. Like stuff like what Jackson's saying here, like a faster stomp or make it easier to actually stomp people as well, because like some of these abilities are very good at stopping you from stomping. Like the Thief can kind of deny you, the Ellie can deny you, the Mesmer can deny you, stuff like that. Like there's nothing you can really do about it, and like it'll probably reduce some of the res power as well. Like a lot of the times you'll see like people getting cleaved, and then people are just like, oh well, we're just gonna res you through all this cleave damage, right? Like that probably shouldn't happen, right? That really shouldn't happen. But yeah, I completely agree that there should be some balance changes to the way resing is. It's maybe a little extreme. Yeah, the quickness res, dude. Oh my god, back in the days, boys. But yeah, like some of that stuff is like, yeah, okay.
I think this event is so powerful. Like it's so powerful for War vs. World streamers or roamers that put out content, because in the next week or so, I'm myself going to be releasing content for War vs. World and bring attention to something that I think a lot of players have quit this game for. Not being able to go out there and play the game on a small scale because of large scale multiplying over and over and over and over and over. Just outtake skill. And I feel like a lot of players, when they see this footage, when they see this kind of montages, they're like, yo, I can be like that too. And they can be like that. I mean, people can literally go out there right now and fucking kill 2 or 3 people without even having to risk it. And that's going to bring the awareness of like, okay, well, we're going to take downstate, and that's a tool that Guild Wars 2 is going to be able to use to bring those players back that they lost into the game, and then work on the actual features of what made downstate cancel in the first place. So I think events like this where, you know, we have a problem, but instead of actually doing like an open beta server tester like we talked about, you know, last time, they're making these events and they're letting us try it out.
I think the events are good for a different reason, not because they're necessarily fixing issues, but more because there's something new and exciting that people can get involved in. Like, I know later this week I'm going to be jumping into World v World and having fun with that when I don't normally do so, simply because it's just a bit of fun. It's different, right? Like, you know, it's...
I also think they're a great source for feedback. Like, you actually get to try something, and like this made me realize that downstate maybe isn't such a good thing. I've never really thought about it, but like the more I think about it, the more I think it could be addressed. And that I've actually seen it on other streams lately as well, that like some people, especially newer players, are also complaining about downstate as one of the things that actually annoy them a lot. And and you just kind of after a while just take it for granted, right? Downstate is there; it's never gonna change, right? I think this is a nice source for feedback to get people to try something through an event. Don't have to do like an extra server or anything for that. And, you get a lot of feedback on whether this was good, whether this was something that could be worked on, basically.
We want players to come to this game. We take their feedback and think it's a meme. Like, that's exactly one of the reasons why we won't grow. Like, if new players are coming to this game and saying, yo, this is complete cancer, how are you guys able to play this game? And we just laugh it off and say, oh, that's just a meme, then this game ain't gonna go anywhere, because new players, new ideas, new ways of playing this game needs to be here. And like we just addressed the first one of the issues that I've had Guild Wars 2 for a while, and it's like roaming was dead for me for such a long time. Now you might say roaming is not a big aspect of Guild Wars 2.
Sorry, like, is roaming dead to you because of downstate or because of shitty balance? Because
it's actually both. Shitty balance.
I'd say 9 times out of 10, and even the downstate itself. The problem is balance, right? Like,
in Heart of Thorns, we had the new specs come out, and like you had classes like druids that would run around and be like god mode for fucking, like, they'd be like 1v20, stealth reset, auto attack, stealth reset. It was like, yo, what's the point of even fucking trying? Because like, unless you're gonna be playing that cancer shit, you ain't gonna fucking be able to roam from vanilla to that. It was like complete cancer. But now, you know, you replace that with like Scourge, AoE, spam reses, and you're like, okay, what's the fucking point? I don't have enough cleave damage. And then on top of that, you got a Guardian Firebrand healing the Scourge that's healing this guy instantly. You have to have like 4 people to kill that motherfucker downstate. You know what I'm saying? So it's balanced, but that's the whole thing though. But like you take it and you say, okay, well we're gonna have to fix this issue. Well, we're not overall fix this issue to where we not only have it in the game, but we also favor small scale. And favoring small scale is actually going to favor content creators, which is going to be a free advertising tool for your game.
What in World v World specifically? Why would they favor small scale? Because like large scale is something that anyone can jump into. It's very easy to jump into. It's much easier to jump into than smaller scale, even because your individual contribution is much more minimized. So like, I don't understand what the purpose of...
Do you think that Guild Wars 2 will ever have Guild Wars?
No.
Alliances.
Like,
alliances.
Well, alliances
I do.
aside, well, like, I assume you mean like GVG, which is never going to happen.
Why would it never happen? Why are you so negative all the time, man? Why you guys always so damn negative?
No, it's
like, why will it never happen?
It's realism.
It's not realism, bro. Like,
yes, it is.
Like, it's like...
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really a huge... I don't think ArenaNet wants to add GVG, right? I don't think they want to. I mean,
like, and I swear this has been debated every single TeaTime.
Yeah, it happens every time.
Can we not have this? Because legitimately, like, I would love GVG, but it's never going to happen. Okay, like, straight up, just...
It's not a supported game mode. They don't particularly want to add it. They don't want to dilute the game anymore. They want to keep World vs. World with World. And here's the thing, like, you can GVG if you want. And here's the thing, it's not like there's no GVGs going on.
I do want TeaTime.
I mean, there's a lot of GVG that's going on organized by the community, and I think that's kind of okay. I personally I don't think a queuing system, like you queue into a GVG, I don't even think that would be very good. I don't think that would work very well, in my opinion. I think it kind of works out better in Guild Wars 2 anyway.
Well, I have to say that if you do have small scale, to answer his question, if you do have small scale, that's the first start of being able to build guilds up to where they start with 1, 2, 3, 4 people, then you lead up to 10 people.
They're adding 2v2s. They've said they're adding 2v2s.
2v2s is not PvP. 2v2 is PvP. We're not talking about War vs. World. We're talking about War vs. World, where it's like small scale, 10 players, 8 players, 7 players, 5 players, 4 players, in guild size small groups that are going to be like havoc parties that are going to be facing each other to be able to create those small scale guilds, to make these guilds eventually recruit 15 players that are running hardcore every single day, and maybe even have a queue system from there. Maybe I'm just like
that's a solution. Sorry.
I was going to say that my opinion of implementing GVG is to have a specific area dedicated to it and have it unstructured. Personally, I think GVG in Guild Wars 2, much like World vs. World, works a lot better when unstructured. If you guys know what I'm saying there, right?
I agree that, but you're not gonna have a GVG system if everybody's just running around as Zergs, bro. Like GVGs, like no more than 15.
But you already do,
people,
though.
bro.
You already do have GVGs that happens as a result of this, and I think the best way to do that. Oh, how many? It's more than you would think, actually. Dude. Seriously, if you look into this community, join these discourse, talk to people like Roy. Roy will hook you up, right? There is. It has to be. Zebs is saying this right. Okay, chat is ahead of me, dude. Okay, we need to have it unrestricted by servers, so you can fight any guild you want. So an instance version of Obsidian Sanctum or a better guild hall will be ideal for this situation, right? That's the kind of thing that we need, right? But leave it unstructured and let the community kind of figure this stuff out. Like, have the arena there for it, dedicated, right? I think that's fine. So fix the guild hall, I think, is the best way. Bigger arena in the guild hall, World vs. World balance in the guild hall, right? And fix the instancing issues. Then say, there's the GVG, and then I think you allow the community to sort it out, because they're already doing a really good job. They've had tournaments. The GVG tournament, like 1K viewers, man, or like 600, 700 viewers. People already kind of into this stuff. So I think that the community can fix this, and just a little bit of support to the game can work out really well, actually, with regards to the guild hall. I don't think it would take much from ArenaNet to fully fix the situation, either with Obsidian Sanctum or with the guild hall. And I don't think a structure would actually be good. I think it would actually be bad if they structured it, if they made it so you have to queue. I don't think that would work particularly well in the Guild Wars 2 World vs. World scene as it is. I think World vs. World is inherently a better system to have unstructured. And adding some rewards, that's a bit tricky. But I mean, we could definitely talk about that. Yeah, they probably should figure out how to add some kind of rewards.
I was going to say,
very difficult, right? Very difficult for like winning arena duels in the guild hall. Again, very easy to manipulate, right? Like, I don't know. Without making it structured, it's hard to add the rewards. But I don't think it will particularly work well if you do add the structure.
I think it comes from ANET just supporting like these kinds of tournaments, right? Like, you know, they didn't support the GVG one before. Mike Z personally donated some stuff, some gold, I think it was, to the NA one. They didn't support the EU one, I'm pretty sure. They didn't support the raid tournament. And you should be supporting this stuff. They should be reaching out and promoting this stuff a lot more as well. Like, just straight up, like, I don't know what their problem is with this stuff, but just do it. Just do it. It's so simple. You know, then you have your community. Then your like community will be more. They'll want to do it, and yeah.
I always like to say that YouTube is a free advertising for any game whatsoever, and I think Peon has made a pure example for that. So, if you only look at Zergs and you only favor Zergs in War vs. World, and you exclude that part of the community, you're not going to get the free advertising that this game was already giving you prior to this current War vs. World thinking. This game was thriving really, really good before Heart of Thorn, when roamers, small scale and big scale did all of this stuff. If you exclude those players out of the community, I just don't feel like it's a good idea if you only focus large scale.
I think there's potential to have both, right? I think there's potential that you can focus on both, right? I don't see why they can't exactly. I think I mean, roaming is pretty because they've added a lot of aids to the game, like stuff like Condi Mirage, Condi Thief, like all these extremely mobile aids classes are very difficult to deal with.
Like you can still kill them though.
You can, but is it? I mean, it's a bit dirty. I don't know. It's not exactly.
I mean, like I roam
fun
every
to play
day. I roam every single day by myself, and I do in small scale and large scale. Okay, and I deal with this player, same exact builds it together every day. Every single day I build, and I get frustrated just like everyone else gets frustrated. And I would like for balance to fix that. I would love balance to fix that. But now that we have no downstate weekend, we also see something that these players, even in outnumbered situations, not in like now on a 1v5, we're talking about like on a 4v10, will still be outplayed because of higher skill level. And the players that are outnumbered are being rewarded, and it makes them want to try even harder. So that being said, you know, we are in this topic right now where we're looking at downstate. So like and say, well, just fix the reses. I feel like the game is on a transition where it can literally make a really, really good change in the game throughout the entire PvP, PvE, and Warless world. On looking at this downstate and saying, is it really needed in the game the way it's implemented? Is it really needed the way it is right now? Do we really want to let players attack CC and DPS altogether, or can we find a way around this to make that player feel more penalized for dying and not rewarded?
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that statement for sure. I think there is certainly some balance changes that can be looked into, and there's definitely some stuff that should probably be changed. We can talk about that balance, but I don't think, to kind of go back to like the original reason for this discussion, I don't think anyone's going to quit the game over downstate. You know, I mean, I just don't see that's going to. I wouldn't say downstate ruins the game. I certainly wouldn't go that far. I think it's not that bad. You know, I don't think it's a huge issue. I don't see why this is what I'm saying is I'm not really sure why this is such a contentious issue. I don't really view this as a particularly contentious issue.
I just think it showed that a lot of people dislike it. And I think a lot of these beginner streams have kind of, like, what I try to do is I try to look at it like unbiased, right? I try to see like what am I just used to being okay and what might actually be better without, right? And seeing a lot of people enjoy no downstate does show a bit that downstate is something that can make you
is it
gotta wake up.
That they're enjoying no downstate, or are they enjoying a change?
Maybe it's just enjoying a change. Maybe it's actually enjoying I don't know. Like I've seen it on new players. Like when I saw new players say, "Oh, that's a cool event because it's been annoying me massively in PvP." That kind of made me think, well, maybe as a new player, maybe it's not that necessary. Maybe it's, but like I'm not saying they should remove it. I'm just saying it shows that like maybe it's something to look into.
Well,
maybe
the fact that these players are coming from competitive games that do have the downstate like that, and they are fighting outnumbered and winning, and they're being taught by other streamers that, you know, I'm fighting by myself, I'm winning by myself, I should be able to do this. Why do you have to come back here and be rewarded for being downstate? It's not them saying, oh, you know, this is cool and it's a change. It's them saying, well, this is what I've been trained from games like World of Warcraft, ESO, BDO. I've been trained like this. I've been trained that I don't have a second chance to be rewarded in downstate. And if I am in downstate and somebody else resin them, the player's going to be punished because that player was bad and he's going to get fucking destroyed. And I understand.
I don't know, dude. I think that's a little far. I think Guild Wars 2 has downstate for a reason. I think it's implemented for a pretty good reason. The game is supposed to be very, very. It's quite fast paced. There's a potential for recovery. It makes it a bit less punishing to die. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. Actually,
you know what we should be saying. You know what we should be saying is that events like this are great. Okay.
Yeah.
And personally, I want to see more.
Definitely.
I want to see more of them, and I hope ArenaNet continues to put these in game. Because this one here, and I think the 2v2 week will be very popular. So that's great.
Do you know what kind of event I'd actually like to see? And this is like taking a completely different direction. Maybe even like going to something we talked about at the beginning of the stream. I'd like to see just like 3 times spawn event of like open world events in starter zones for new players. just like a lot more things to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think that sort of thing, open world weekends, would be awesome. Actually, I think that's great. That sort of thing is really awesome. To encourage not only the new players to kind of really get out there and enjoy the open world content, but also to enjoy for older players, like more veteran players who have kind of, you know, they've gone on to the AFK and Lion's Arch meta, right? Like who've moved on to the next stage of their evolution, to get back into it and see that it is actually kind of fun. Like whenever there's a new map that comes out, I have like a really great time playing around on it with just the Salt crew, right? Or you know, or not even necessarily the Salt Boys. I mean, playing with the Salt Boys is also really awesome because that's my guild, right? But honestly, open world is fun in this game. Open world is fun, guys.
I'm just thinking kind of it's one of the first things.
To it. But with
can I add something to what I was saying earlier?
Yeah, sure.
So this game was developed in the beginning in vanilla without the Holy Trinity, right? It was pretty much everybody could like DPS and in a heal in a supporty way. It wasn't like direct healing like a druid does or a firebrand. It was like it's like indirect healing. It was like boons, very little, right?
Yeah.
Are we agree here or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's all right. Go on. Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to make sure.
Okay.
No,
that wasn't about you.
So then we introduced a somewhat of a holy trinity with druids and, you know, firebrands and elementalists, right? As we introduced those things, but we also let, you know, the very, very strong downstate still in the game. So we have almost dedicated healers, right? In PvP, Worldless World. And then we have players being able to go and res almost instantly. So I think the reason downstate in vanilla was designed the way it was is because we didn't have those dedicated healers. Players weren't going to be able to go from 0 to heal fully in vanilla.
I completely agree with you, dude. I completely agree with you. I think that is why rebalancing, not like deletion, is the key here, right? And I honestly, Bick, I think you're right, man. Like that sort of thing, and maybe not to the extent you were saying, like completely remove all the abilities, but certainly, yeah, sure, like toning it down. I don't think the abilities in downstate as such are the problem. I think the issue that needs to be attacked is the capacity to res in this game. Like resurrection should be looked at rather than like nerfing the abilities in downstate. I don't think the abilities are necessarily the problem. It's more like the capacity for recovery is very high right now, and it's less so in a more organized group. Like you'll see, you know, it's much less so at a higher level, but that doesn't make doesn't mean it's not frustrating at a lower or more casual level, right? Like these are two considerations that need to be made, of course. So yeah, I definitely agree. I think that's a very good point, honestly.
So if you if you take what you just said and break that down, so now those abilities get toned down a bit, right? The abilities in downstate, they get toned down a bit. Do they get toned down a bit to the point that they don't fucking matter anymore? Or do they get toned down to the point where they're like, if you tone them down, the player's already down, right? The player's already in down state. So if you tone down Ranger Pet Heal, then why have it? If you tone down Elementalist Misform, why have it? If you tone down Necro Auto Attack, why have it? Like, if you tone them down, then they're not really going to be useful anymore, so then why even have them? Now, like, when you say tone them down, like, what kind of scale are we talking about?
I mean,
I would say they should give you the option of a recovery. Like it just should be hard. Like you should have to like really hard commit to that. To save it.
I would say that, you know, stuff should maybe for example, like reduce the damage. Make it so like Condi Thief downstate doesn't like fucking destroy you, right? Like with all the aids it puts out. Make it so that Necro downstate is like maybe a little bit less obnoxious, but I don't think Necro downstate.
I think make it so that Guardian can just jump on you and just press F and get you up, guaranteed.
Yeah, the biggest problem is the res power, right? Like the res power is the problem, not necessarily the downstate abilities themselves, right? So I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, yeah, you could nerf them a bit, but I don't think it's really that necessary to nerf them. It's more the fact that the way you can res in this game is pretty extreme right now, right? But I mean, if you wanted to nerf, you can definitely talk about nerfing the downstate abilities, but I don't think that's really going to be necessary, really, as such. So I don't know. That's just my take on that. And honestly, guys, right? Okay, I think it's time for the old Chilleroni, boys. Like this is, it's a little bit on the out of control side at this point. All right, boys. You know what I mean?
Play us AT.
No, dude. I am so good at this game. Okay, I can win the AT while doing tea time, dude. I could be like fucking making a cup of tea and, you know, getting some toast going as well at the same time. Like, easy peasy, boys. Okay, but that's, you know, that's not a That's not a part of this, boys. Okay, it is a really interesting discussion. I think the no downstate week, as you say, Vic, has kind of brought these issues more to the forefront. But I certainly don't think removing it fully is the way to go. Like I really don't think that's a good idea at all. Actually, I think it has to be a more considered approach, and probably dealing with the way what is going on there, Angels? What is this, man? Okay, it's going to be more to do with how the classes interact with one another. And yeah, like I want to say a really insightful point from you, Bick, was talking about how the game has evolved since the core game, and downstate, the way downstates are interacted with hasn't as such, right? So when you add all these healers, you add all these res powers, like stuff like transfusion, the well of blood, merciful intervention, like all the res traits doing some cool stuff as well, like all that on top of each other, and with like all the counter cleave and stuff, it does make it a little out of control. That's a very fair point, but let's wrap it up. Wow, guys, what a fucking tea time! But it's everyone's favorite part of the tea time. Okay, it's where we can chill like filthy plebs that we are. So, wow, the returning and infamous guest of Bick. Tell us a little bit about yourself, my friend, and where we can find you and what you do.
I don't know what you heard about me, but a bitch can get $1 out of me. No Cadillacs, no perms you can't see, because I'm motherfucking B.I.K. Now Shorty, she in the club dancing for dollars. She got a thing for that Gucci, that Fernanda Prandas, the BCBG Blue Bloods and Gabanas.
Yep.
She met foolish fantasies because they want to pay her. What's up, boys? PIMP, Big Easy. Holla at me. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
That's fucking fire, dude.
That was awesome, dude.
That's actually fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to follow that. I mean, dude, okay, Angels, you gotta try and follow that, dude. You gotta try and follow that shit, man.
Okay. I mean, I'm no rapper. Okay, that's for sure. But I'll just tell you to follow my Twitch. Subscribe, of course. Go to GoToPvP.net. Make sure you do all that sort of shit. Yeah, easy. Let's go.
All right, nice. It's getting linked in the chat, and you can find that, of course, below the stream as well. But Ben P was here the entire time. I mean, I don't know. Well, I mean, yeah, there we go. That's intense.
Ben,
okay.
How do you feel about downstate?
Yeah. Okay. In the top right-hand corner, not from Lucky Noobs, as the bot just said, it is Roca DNT.
That's actually the longest guild I've been in for a while now. I think I've been in DNT longer than SC, and for a good portion of being in LN. But yeah, well, I'm Easy Roca. I stream PvE mostly raids and fractals. I'm better than most other players, especially Teapot and Angels up there. Oh, and I hate casuals.
1v1, let's go. All right, 1v1, let's go.
Yeah.
DPS race me, boy.
Oh.
No, but people call me toxic, but I actually consider myself rather helpful. I'd like to help new players out. So if you're having any questions, hit me up, right? So you can find me on Twitch. You can find me very inactively on YouTube, and obviously follow my Twitter, right? Because everybody always talks about Teapot and MMOing. But actually, I think I want to kind of start playing with these big boys, right? And,
social
I want to feel like a relevant streamer, dude. I'm feeling irrelevant on Twitter. I have not even 500 followers. I need Twitter followers, dude. So
yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Also, we just opened a community guild, which is
easy.
Very soon going to be bigger and better than Salt. But
whoa! Well, I mean, maybe
bigger,
maybe better.
I
mean, yeah.
Eventually, we can GVG. You know.
Yeah, I will destroy you, Roca, in GVG.
Yeah.
Anyway. Be sure to check out all that stuff. And of course, guys, if you have enjoyed the stream so far as a whole, you can follow this one. We have this sort of thing every single week, well, most weeks, okay? And you can find fire like this on a weekly basis, and of course on my YouTube. So, follow the stream, guys. Subscribe to the stream. Give me that cash, guys. Use that Twitch Prime. To everyone here, we need Roy here. We need Roy to give us that old Twitch Prime shill. We've got RGB rooms, guys, okay? You've got to be giving us that cash right now. Follow the stream. Follow me on Twitter as well, obviously, because I even tweet sometimes. That's pretty good. But yeah, follow everyone here, guys. Subscribe to everyone here. Enjoy everyone's exciting content, guys, because you really won't find anything of this quality anywhere else, guys. But yeah, that is going to be it from us for a while. We'll be around. We mostly stream all the time, kind of, maybe, sometimes-ish. So, follow, subscribe, follow everyone here, tweet everyone, boom. And yeah, donate your organs, as this guy says. Ronked. Yep, I like that. Okay, links below the stream. Links from the bot, as you can see there. And thank you guys for watching. And we will see you somewhere down the space-time continuum, I would imagine. Otherwise, would be weird. Okay. I'm actually going to keep streaming the AT, though, by the way. Just, I mean, I might as well, right? So. But yeah.
Good luck, man.
But TeaTime has officially commenced. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. No. Yeah, but yeah. Okay, goodbye, YouTube. Okay, this is the last part of the recording. See you later.